All I'm saying is...
What are you saying?
Moonlit musings for sportsmad vampires, factory shift workers...
Never mind hello, Chuck.
And men with prostate trouble. Morning, Andy.
What are you doing?
Make sure you stay awake for the radio show that never sucks. The Nosferatu Mics on Talk Sport.
Look at the light!
Your palate is like a dustbin. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. We're here with you throughout the night, of course, and it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Well, a very good morning, Mike. But what's all this about jiggery pokery and winners and losers?
Well,
I know nothing of this.
Well, there's something very odd going on. All I can say to you is that I was leading, the clear leader in the competition from this morning.
Clear?
Clear, yes.
It never, ever got wider than 48.52.
It did, actually.
Clear.
Yeah, it was. It was 53.57 at several points.
No.
It was at 48.52.
Couldn't have been 53.57. That adds up to 110, you numbskull.
53.57?
Yes.
What, you're saying it couldn't be 53.47 is what I mean?
Yeah, well, you didn't say that. You said 53.57.
Okay. Oh, right. Well, excuse me, I made a mistake.
What kind of a numbskull are you?
Excuse me, I made a mistake.
You can't even add up to 100.
I made a mistake.
Half-baked.
If you want to add up the number of mistakes you make on any given hour, we can start that with me making one mistake, and we'll just count all of yours on the other side, shall we?
I don't think so. Anyway, what's the alleged...
Anyway, so some webcam
pokery
girl, some porn star has entered into the fray by the name of Harriet Sugar Cookie.
Why are you so dismissive of this lady? She's got a profession like anybody else.
She's a porn star. She's by her own admission.
And does that make her a bad person?
Doesn't make her a bad person.
So why are you being dismissive about her?
But what she's done is she's rather... because, your rather idiotic followers are easily influenced by these things.
Oh, I see. Sorry, all my followers are idiotic,
yeah, they are, yeah.
All 80,000 of them?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Who listens to Talk Sport?
They're all very, very easily influenced in the way that they vote.
Why don't we insult a few more classifications of our millions of listeners?
Well, let me ask you this. If somebody who regularly takes their clothes off for a living promises to show you her breasts, would you then vote for the person that was going to end up with that result?
I mean,
that's what she's offering, and that's why the voting has changed.
But that offer is not directed at me. She is saying
no, she's offering it to your dopey followers who are all going, oh, great, yeah, we get to see your breasts, so we'll all vote for you.
My followers are now half-baked, they're dopey. Have you got anything else you'd like to say to insult them?
Well, it's nothing to do with the winners and losers. Winners and losers is about the three winners and the three losers that we both put out last night live on the radio, also on the
quality
podcast.
of mine, I think you'll find was very, very high.
Well, whether it's very high or not, the question is that the competition has now become about whether these people want to see this woman's breasts, which seems to me to have completely hijacked the situation and turned it into a rather sleazy kind of porn fest, which I find quite upsetting.
Once again, you've misled the audience completely. The only reason why this young lady is showing part of her upper cleavage...
No, she's threatening to show all of her breasts if you win. That's the point.
Part of her upper cleavage has "Vote Porky, vote often" written on it.
Right.
So all she's
These are the kind of people you attract.
Is using her upper cleavage as an advertising slogan.
These are the kind of people you attract.
But there's nothing wrong with that. She's not baring her breasts or anything like that.
Well, have you seen her profile on Twitter?
I haven't studied it in any great detail because I'm not individually critical of people and their lifestyles and their life choices.
You're not, really?
No.
You're not critical of people's lifestyles or their life choices?
No, I'm not, no.
Well, that's a new one.
Not at all. As far as I'm concerned,
she describes herself as a London baby and cam girl.
Yes.
Sex and food and sexy food. Click here for my cam and when I'm online.
Right.
Don't you think she's using this as some way of using you and your good name to actually generate business in the porn business?
Are you suggesting she's got a bad name?
Well, she's a porn star.
Well, hang on. You just said that doesn't make her a bad person.
What?
It's a profession like anything else, isn't it?
Okay. Oh, well, I'm glad you've suddenly changed your tune. Well, I thought you were all about this being a family show.
It is a family show.
I thought you were all about, people having the morals of an alley cat not being welcome.
Well, you have the morals of an alley cat
because what about her morals?
Them personally.
What about her morals?
Well, we're detached from this young lady because she's chosen her profession and her way of life.
No, we are not detached from her because she is using this show to promote her business.
We can't sit in moral judgment on people who choose by their own volition, with their own skills, to enter the sex industry.
Right.
If they want to enter the sex industry.
So from this point on,
you will sex worker.
So from this point on, you will not be making any moral choices or making any moral judgments on anyone, including me. Is that right?
I will if I think that you.
Oh, okay. So as long as you can get the thing that's pathetic about you, right, is that as long as you get a few votes, long as you get a few votes, you're happy. As long as you win winners and losers. This is how unbelievably insecure you are.
No.
In order to get any kind of a win, you will rope in any old old slapper to get whatever you like.
Oh, now, so this young lady's an old slapper now,
Of course she is.
Well,
She's a porn star.
How can you be so judgmental and so horribly, demonically
Well, I didn't realise you were so in support of webcam girls. Do you know any of them?
I don't even know what a webcam girl is.
Don't you know?
All I know is...
Well, you can meet up with Harriet Sugar Cookie and she'll show you what it all means.
Is that her name?
Harriet Sugar Cookie.
Sounds like a very nice young lady to me. She's chosen a particular profession
in
life.
There's a picture of her.
Yes, there's a picture, and she's got Vote Parry, Vote Porky written on her upper chest.
No,
that's
she's got
all.
Vote Porky, Vote Often, actually.
Oh, Vote Porky, Vote Often. That's exactly,
Are you having trouble reading?
Yeah. No, I'm not having trouble reading at all.
And here's what she says. Sorry for my lousy writing, but help me vote for Mike Parry. If he wins, you guys get a topless pic.
Well, that is her choice. That's nothing to do with me.
I'm shocked that you would be in support of this kind of gerrymandering. I've never seen such gerrymandering.
Are you trying to insinuate that I rang this young lady up and said, would you mind flashing your breasts?
I don't know how she got involved. I have no idea how she got involved.
If it would encourage people to vote for me in a competition I'm going to win anyway.
Well, surely
I wouldn't have thought that I would have
if you
considered
had
that.
The morals that you accuse others of not having, you would discourage this kind of behaviour. You would discourage people from wanting to see this young woman's breasts, from wanting her to be exploited by your followers.
How can I be judgmental about that? How can I be
judgmental about everything else?
I'm not.
You're judgmental about homeless people.
No,
You're judgmental about people that don't have a decent car.
No.
You're judgmental about people who don't have a decent house.
This is very untrue.
But you're quite happy to encourage webcam girls to enter the domain of winners and losers, which up until this moment has been entirely and utterly beyond reproach.
I think we have to have a very open mind about the broad church of listeners.
Yeah, I see. I know what you want to have an open mind about.
A broad church of listeners who make up the millions of people who listen to the show every night. And as far as I'm concerned, to now get specific and in a rather bullying overtones of trying to put this young lady down.
You're going to claim that I'm bullying people now?
Trying to put this young lady...
That's almost the last bastion of a bully, to accuse other people of bullying.
Trying to put this young lady down just because she's chosen a certain way of life.
She's trying to put herself down. That's part of the problem. She's trying to take a top down. That's what it's all about.
I mean, let's face it, mate. Let's be absolutely honest here.
Yeah.
You're not without sort of associating with ladies who are of her persuasion anyway, are you?
Yes, I'm very much against it. I've never paid a webcam girl to do anything.
I'm not suggesting you have.
What are you suggesting?
Well, you have never objected to a woman flashing her breasts for you, have you?
What do you mean?
Well, have you ever objected to a woman flashing her breasts for you?
What do you mean, flashing her breasts?
Well, you saying that this woman is going to be, the devil incarnate.
I've never asked a woman to flash her dress at me.
Breasts, I said.
I've never asked a woman to flash anything at me.
You're saying she's the devilness incarnate because she's threatening to...
The devilness incarnate is not what I called her.
Yeah,
all I'm saying is that I'm staggered that you, as a man who claims to be this man of fine
But you
moral
normally
judgment,
like to see women flashing their breasts.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
I've never seen a woman flash her breasts. No,
you have severe relationship problems with women on occasions.
No, you're the one who has a relationship problems with women. You haven't had a
includes-
relationship with any women for about 25 years.
That includes associating with women who are not averse to exposing their breasts at certain times.
No, what are you talking about? I've never been with a woman who exposes her breasts.
Well, you must have been, because you've had, a lot of relations with a lot of women, and they have, a lot of them have been physical.
So you can barely talk about it, can you, without going red in the face?
I'm not going red in
the face. Are you asking me
face.
to tell you that I've seen a lot of women's breasts?
Well, you have.
Yeah, but that's not the same as having them flashed at you, is it?
Well, it's the same thing.
No, it's not the same thing.
Of course it's the same thing.
If you're in the privacy of your own home, somebody gets undressed, gets into bed with you, that's called normal behaviour.
Fair enough.
Paying some woman to take her top off and flash her breasts at you is not normal behaviour.
No, but I'm not saying about paying. I accept that you've never...
Well, she does it for money. What do you think she does?
You have never proffered money to a woman in order to gain sexual favours. I accept that absolutely, and I'm not accusing you of that.
But that's her business.
But it sounds a little bit boring, this idea that, just take her clothes off and get into bed. I mean, surely ladies have been a little bit more exciting their approach to you than that, haven't they? Over the years?
I don't know what you mean.
Well, come on, use your imagination, you're a man of the world.
No, you tell me.
You
tell me what do you imagine goes on in the relationships I have with women?
Well, I don't.
What do you think? We sit somewhere in a bar and she goes, "Woo!" like that. Is that what you think?
Well, I don't think you'd be adverse to that happening if it did happen. I'm not saying it has. But, I mean, I don't think the two of you go into a dark room together, stand at opposite sides of the room and take...
I think you're giving this way too much thought.
Take your clothes off in the dark and then, consummate the relationship. I think you've got a bit more imagination than that. That's all I'm saying,
well,
okay?
I'm glad that you spend so much time thinking about what I imagine.
No,
all I'm saying to you is that I feel as though the winners and losers...
It's your high horse about moral values, which are, a joke.
This is not my high horse.
You have the moral jaws of an alley cat.
No.
Your relations with women involve one thing and one thing only: you seeking Rogerisation. And now to try and turn round and say, "Oh, I'm the best behaved man in the world."
I've never said that.
I would hate to see a woman flash her breast to me. It's nonsense.
Well, the point is, once
that's
again,
the sort of thing you live your life for.
Once again, you've completely derailed the argument into something else.
Not at
All
all.
I'm saying is that, if Rogerisation is all very well, this is all about winners and losers, and a clean vote, and a vote which is about whether my winners and losers are better than yours.
Mine are
it's not
better than
about
yours.
whether some woman wants to get undressed.
Well, I had nothing to do with that. I can't help it.
I find it hard to believe.
I build up a lot
These are the kind of people you hang around with.
I build up a lot of fervour.
You're the one that's been to a strip club in Soho. Maybe you met her there.
And the people who follow me, I build up a lot of fervour. If they then want to take their own tactical view of how to emphasise how good my winners and losers were, I can't help that.
We shall see. This is Talk Sport. The vote's open till 3:30.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There's an awful lot of Twitter action going on. It's Ask Porky coming up a bit later on.
Yes.
Some of you might have a few questions for him that you didn't have 15 minutes ago. We'll be talking a little bit about the League Cup and one away goal, of course, which was scored, which
Yes.
may become very important, as we discussed last night. Roy says this: Porky has shown his true colours and will use whatever means to win.
No.
So much for Mr. Christian. What a total hypocrite.
No, I am Mr. Christian. I just don't like you laying into people because of their lifestyle and their choice of how they want to live their lives.
You don't like me laying into people because of their
No,
lifestyle.
no,
Should
I
we
don't.
call for the clips
What?
in which you called the people who are homeless filthy beggars?
No, I
where you
didn't.
called
I've
people
never,
who could
ever
not,
said that.
Who could not get a job.
Yeah.
They should get up off their mat
No.
and go and get themselves a
It
job.
was
You only
the-
said it yesterday.
It was the blanket, actually.
The blanket, there you go.
But I've never called anybody a filthy beggar. Anyway, that's for another day. We'll see what happens
James
when,
says this. Well,
when
we'll
the
see.
score
Well,
comes in.
Well, no, we won't, because we may have to declare it null and void. Just
don't
seen
be
that tweet
ridiculous.
from that webcam girl. Obvious gerrymandering, shocking from the Parry tribe.
Well, I had nothing to do with it. I can't help it.
Well, that's what you say.
I promote this sort of loyalty and devotion from people who follow me, who listen to me. They realise that I am the seeker of truth and justice, and they want to be on my side. I can't help that, mate. That's
Here's
the way
one,
it happens.
here's
And
one
your
from
envy and
Maxwell.
jealousy at this, by the way,
Here's
is
one from
starting
Max-
to show.
No, it's nothing to do with you.
show.
You always accuse me of being envious
Yeah.
and jealous of you.
Yeah,
I could
I
not
do.
be less
I do.
envious or less jealous of you. I mean, why would I
really?
be jealous of you?
Well,
Give me one reason.
because of my ability to have conquered life in a way that you have
Conquered
not.
it?
Yes.
How have you conquered life?
Well, I've created solid foundations.
Like what?
I've laid.
Like what?
I've laid down a blueprint
Like
for
what? What blueprint?
for divine.
You can't even think of what you've done.
I have.
You haven't done
I have.
anything.
No, I have.
You're one of the most miserable people I know.
Yeah, you see,
Maxwell
that's all
says
you can
this.
do is insult me.
Maxwell says this should be null and void this week. Hashtag gerrymandered. Hashtag Porky cheats.
There has been no gerrymandering. Look, I can swear to you, there's been absolutely no contact between this young lady.
Your word is worth
and
about
mine.
as much as something I can pick up off the floor.
Or are you telling me that there has been some contact between this young lady
I
and
have
me?
no idea.
Well, there hasn't been.
Why would she suddenly come on the scene?
Well, because she became a big fan of mine. And
Oh, really? So tell us about that.
That's
Why?
the effect I have on people. There's nothing I can
so
do
you've
about
had
it.
contact with her before then?
By the way, talking about the young lady getting involved and all that, did you see the interview with the American footballer who asked the reporter out live on air? Did you see it?
Which American footballer?
It was absolutely brilliant. The guy, what's his name?
You're talking about Chris Gale?
No, I'm talking about.
You're talking about Chris
Gale. That's right. Yeah,
He's
yeah.
not an American footballer.
No, I know he's not. No.
He's a cricketer.
He is a cricketer. Absolutely right.
From the West Indies.
And wasn't it fantastic when he said to the lady, "You come and have a drink with me after the show"? And it was fantastic, wasn't it? Eh? Didn't you
Fantastic
think?
in what sense?
Well, in the sense that I thought it was a great little sort of, vignette on life and how people can be attracted to each other in a sparky moment like that. And all of a sudden...
So you don't think he's overstepped the mark then?
Well, it's I'm getting reports now. It would say things like this. Australian cricket has moved to distance itself from Chris Gale. Damaging allegations about an incident in which a woman said, "Oh, I see, sorry," it gets a bit deeper. Right, OK, forget
What do you mean,
that.
sorry? No, let's have a listen to it.
I want to come and have an interview with you as well. That's the reason why I'm here. So just to see your eyes for the first time. It's nice. So hopefully win this game and we can have a drink after. Don't blush, baby.
I'm not blushing.
Yeah.
So you sparked up the wrong tree on that. So apart from the fact he wasn't an American footballer,
No, that's right.
He's been fined, by the way, 10,000 Australian dollars
£5,000,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
for being said the sexist.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not surprised you'd have thought it was a great thing.
Well, no, but the problem is I've just discovered, I'll have to read this
so
to
now
you
you don't think it's a good thing?
Well,
you did think it was a great thing.
No,
You
facts
just
are
did that.
emerging. Facts are emerging.
Yeah.
Listen, Australian cricket has moved to distance itself from Chris Gale as damaging allegations emerged about an incident in which a woman said he exposed himself to her at last year's World Cup.
Yeah.
So that takes it down market a little bit, doesn't it?
Well, it does rather, but you don't care how people do that. You don't care about that, do you?
Oh, no, that's
I mean, you're quite happy for that sort of thing to go on.
That's a shocking development in this allegation, which, of course, we have no proof.
Is that right?
None whatsoever.
Well, I mean, I certainly heard somebody talking about Chris Gale a bit earlier on in the day on the radio, saying that, he does have a bit of previous for chatting women up in a way which is not perhaps appropriate for the means.
Oh, you'd know all about that, wouldn't you?
Well, no, I wouldn't know all about it.
Appropriately and inappropriately chatting women up. You'd know all about that, mate.
Really?
Don't worry about that.
So
you're
going to just keep turning this back on me.
Oh,
how about this from Phantom, who says, Porky's to be on the next episode of Rinsers, buying gifts for glamour models.
Rinsers? What's that?
That's that show where the women go on the internet and ask for presents. And people like you buy them presents.
They just buy them.
Maybe you'll be buying presents for this girl
And
soon.
you don't expect anything back in return, though, do you, for that? So I'm not a mug, I don't go around doing that.
You expect some kind of gerrymandered vote for winners and losers.
Not at all.
Zobon says this, it's a family show, but when it comes to showgirls, we should have an open mind. Hashtag shocking.
No, not whatsoever. There's a lady here, and calls herself Irish. She says, old MG has seen the light and Porky has sold his soul to the devil. And she says...
what makes you think she's a woman?
Irish one. There's a picture of her as a woman. Oh, no, maybe that's Jesus Christ,
It's a picture of a saint.
Oh, a saint, is it? Right, OK. Another one says... it's only a small picture, isn't it? So I thought it might have been her.
You can enlarge the picture.
It says, gerrymandering at its worst, Porky, the porn lover, ha-ha, so much for a family show. Well, I mean, that's very unkind. All I'm doing is sticking up for somebody who's chosen a particular lifestyle, OK?
Basil says, disappointed with Porky's justification of the vote being influenced. This week's winners and losers should be declared void.
Well,
maybe we should have a second vote on whether the vote should be declared void.
I
think that's what we're going to do.
No, I really don't think that's the case at all.
Yeah, I think that's what we should do.
You're losing.
What's wrong with democracy?
And so you're bringing in this.
What's wrong with democracy? Why don't we do this?
Spoiling tactic.
Why don't we do this?
Spoiling tactic.
I will issue a new vote, right, and it will be open until 2:30.
I don't agree to this.
And the new vote will say, should the original vote be declared null and void?
Well, you're going to lose.
And we'll double it up. And it's not a question of that. I think it's been unduly influenced. That's my point.
It hasn't been unduly influenced. If somebody came on and said, let's vote for MG, then I would call for the vote to be called off. I wouldn't do that. I believe in the ability
that's not the point.
to portray yourself to the audience. If the audience suddenly get caught up in the fervour of wanting to vote for me,
you're missing
no
the
matter
point.
who they are, they should be allowed to.
Well, unfortunately, you're missing the point.
I'm not missing any point. You are.
Usually being thick. The analogy that you should have made...
because I'm not thick.
No, the analogy that you should have made is if somebody came along and said, vote for MG and I'll give you £5, that would be the same thing. She's saying, vote for Porky and I'll show you my breasts.
No, she's not saying that.
Yes, she is saying that.
No, she's not saying that.
Do you want me to show you what she's saying?
Yes.
Have you not read what she says?
What she said is, if I win, she may then...
She says, I'm sorry for the lousy writing, but help me vote for Mike Parry. If he wins, you guys get a topless pic.
Yes.
There it is.
She didn't,
in black and white.
She didn't say...
That's what it says.
She didn't say vote for MP and then I will expose my breasts, though. She doesn't.
What do you think a topless pic is?
No, the wording is very clever. She's saying she will celebrate, that's all she's saying, celebrate my victory by going au natural.
You guys get a topless pic.
But you just go au natural.
Yeah, but they don't put it on Twitter.
Topless girls on the beach in Saint-Tropez go au natural,
but they don't put it on Twitter.
They do. A lot of them do.
Do they? Well, I didn't know you spent so much time following these women.
Oh, I don't follow them at all.
Well, how do you know they put them on Twitter?
Well, you've seen them, selfies. I mean, what about that that poor old, well, not poor old, but that Labour MP who's got himself involved in all sorts of allegations.
You feel sorry for him as well.
I don't feel sorry for him, but
everybody's got a right to be a sad,
had a second
old
wife,
git, right?
By the way, he's divorced now. Did you know that? That's
from the selfie queen?
Yeah, from the second wife, apparently, who did like to, self-eyes, I would say, self-eyes, particular aspects of her au naturel figure.
Yeah, I think you're very confused about all this.
No, I'm not.
David says this, very sad that this porn woman has just messed up the whole vote. It's really sad she has to take over the show. Block her.
She hasn't messed up the vote. She hasn't taken over the show. You've just jumped on it because you see this as an opportunity to try and wreck the democratic voting system, which was going to give me a victory in winners and losers. It's quite as simple as that, Mike, and don't pretend it's anything else, okay?
No, all I'm saying is that as soon as she put this, presenting herself on Twitter out there, the vote has swung by 5%. Simple as that.
Yeah. Well, I can't help that, can I? I can't help that.
Kevin says this, I wonder how much Porky has donated to her cam shows, thousands spent from the desolate, dark, locked room of shame.
No, I can assure you, I can absolutely assure you. And by the way, I've just had the latest update on the vote. The vote is now Mike Graham 48, Mike Parry 52.
Yeah, well,
and you want to call the vote off?
Well, no. What I want to do is have a new vote out there, which is should we declare the result null and void? And that's what I'm going to do.
No. The vote is over, and I've won.
No, it's not.
Mike Graham 48, Mike Parry 52.
No, how's it over?
What do you mean?
How's the vote over?
Because the deadline's gone.
No, it hasn't.
The deadline was the start of this show at 1 o'clock.
Do you not follow the Two Mikes Twitter?
Oh, yes, I very much do.
If you follow the Two Mikes Twitter, you will notice after midnight, which was when the deadline was.
That's right.
When it was 50-50.
Yes.
There was a tweet put out which says, due to the 50-50 result at midnight, voting will be extended until 3:30am, which is what we always do if it's a 50-50. We always do that.
In my opinion, we should have what you'd call a golden vote, and as soon as one pulls away, even by 1 point from the other, then they should be declared the winner.
That's not the rule.
In my case, it's me.
That's not the rule we've ever done.
In this case, it is me.
Well, how do you know that didn't happen before now?
Sorry?
How do you know that didn't happen before now?
Because I've been following it carefully on my information device.
Well, you obviously haven't.
And by
Here's
the way,
what we're going to do. We are going to put out a situation. People can vote for it for an hour. Should the vote be declared null?
No, I don't agree with that.
If the vote is not declared, why don't you?
Because it's Turkey's vote over Christmas. Why should I agree to have the vote called off because I'm leading? You're mad. I don't know. I have no idea where you got this ridiculous initiative from.
It's been interfered with.
So if you were in the 100 metres against Usain Bolt and you got to 90 metres and he was 2 paces ahead of you, would you then suddenly petition them and say, have this race called off, I'm losing it?
No, that's not
exactly what you're talking about.
That's not what we're doing.
Exactly what you're talking about.
What we're asking
Talk
for.
about a bad loser.
No, what we're asking for.
I mean, historically, this is the worst loser ever.
It's what we're asking for is a democratic vote.
I'm losing, he says. This is what MG says. I'm losing, so let's call the competition off. What an imbecile. What a weak, vacillating, hopeless...
Presumably, you're...
improper, nauseating... Fat slob.
Presumably, you're happy enough in your confident figures that you will be able to win the next vote anyway.
Well, I'm pretty sure I will.
Well,
but
that's what we're going to do.
I'm not going to allow you the satisfaction of calling it off and doing it again.
I'm not calling it off. I'm asking the listeners to make a judgment as to whether it should be declared null and void. What could be fairer than that?
Why do you need a second vote when I'm winning the first?
What could be fair? Because it's been interfered with.
No, it hasn't been interfered with.
Well, everybody agrees with that. Let's put it to the vote and everybody can decide.
Old Irish, by the way.
This is or Irish the woman or the saint.
Well, we don't know who it is. Irish the saint. She's come back, said, I tweet every night and listen every night. Old MG is right. That's a picture of Saint Therese.
There you go.
So there you go.
So I told you that already.
Yeah.
You learn something every day.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Freedom for sport.
Can we kick it? Yes, we can. Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. We've got loads to talk about. I don't want this show to be derailed by this rather unsavoury happening.
I
that's
totally
begun
agree. Very
at
unsavoury.
the start of the show. But what I can say is that at the top of the two mics now, there is a new pin tweet which says this: should the vote for winners and losers be declared null and void this week, please vote here. So that's going to be open until 2:30. We'll take that. I will take that vote as whatever it says. I will abide by. If it says no, and it turns out that you're the winner, I'll be more than happy to declare you the winner. But I will urge you, please, not to involve outside influences in the future. Otherwise, it puts the whole thing in jeopardy.
I didn't involve anybody, so I think this is a ridiculous aberration of democracy. I would urge everybody not to take part in the second poll, please, because old MG's found he's losing.
Of course they should take part in it.
And has very dictatorially now decided he's going to have a second vote to try and countermand the first one, which he's clearly losing.
Not at all. I'm just asking people to vote on whether it should be declared null and void. At the moment, the voting is 57% say yes, it should be declared null and void. 43% say no, it should not. So at the moment, it will be declared null and void at 2:30.
Ridiculous. So every time now, from now on, folks, I think we'll have to scrap winners and losers. Because every time from now on, whenever I take the lead,
that's not true.
Old Fatso here is going to have a second vote to say, true. I think we should make this null and void because Porky's winning.
That's not true.
It's pathetic.
No, at the end of last year, right? Do you not remember? It was 13-3, right? You decided you were going to make some kind of massive comeback. You then won 3 in a row and got it to 13-6.
Yes.
Did I stop you from winning those?
No, because you felt that you had a safe enough cushion.
Not true.
I can tell you, Mike, my response to this will be that whenever you're leading in future, I will be calling for a second vote to have the competition.
Listen, if somebody from the outside intervenes, you'll be more than welcome to do that.
But I haven't asked anybody from the outside to intervene.
It doesn't matter whether you've asked them. The point is they have.
Don't you think that we like our listeners and our followers to be proactive in what this show is all about?
I don't want to be part of some competition.
And to join in and add colour and verve.
No, I don't want to be part of some competition. No, I don't want to be part of some competition which is going to be hijacked by some people that we would rather not necessarily have hijack it, that's all.
Well, I would welcome any listener, any follower, anybody who wants to contribute to the show to get involved, and your brutal, fascist-like determination to keep people out of the show, frankly, very much disappoints me.
Not at all.
Now, let's talk about the Liverpool game tonight, because I tell you what, it reminded me when I saw the players going out 1, 2, 3 with hamstring injuries, whether or not they should have been listening to Mr. Motivator last night, who said a warm-up is the most vital thing for an athlete, stretching and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it seems very unlucky for the same injury to befall so many people.
3 players in one game.
Yeah, but also it's not just in that game either, is it? There's quite a lot of injuries. I mean, Daniel Sturridge is now a man who's played, I think, 13 times for Liverpool in the last 2 seasons.
Yes.
People have said in the past that Arsenal have got a problem with injuries and they can't seem to get their players to, respond to treatment properly. Does Liverpool have the same kind of problem? Is that what you're saying?
Well, no. What I'm saying is that when Mr. Motate last night said, as I was sitting here in this very studio, he was saying, right, raise your foreleg onto the ball of your foot. Yeah. Put your leg down,
which you were doing.
Raise your toes higher than your heel. Yeah. Now lift your foot off the floor, wiggle your ankle round. I have to say there's been a dramatic improvement.
Really?
Yeah, dramatic improvement.
So it's feeling better now, the
calf?
Oh,
yeah. Well, it's not good, and it's still very sore to the touch.
Is it?
But undoubtedly...
But you're not limping anymore, are you?
No, I'm not limping as much as I used to. That's absolutely right.
Right.
And so he's done right. So there's got to be something. There's got to be something in this idea that if you don't apply yourself to a proper warm-up, you wonder how they got away with it all those years ago. You wonder how Jimmy Greaves, when he used to arrive at the ground 10 minutes before the kick-off, smoke a cigarette in the dressing room, go out in temperatures of sort of -2 sometimes, with 2 inches of snow on the ground at this time of the year, and then played 90 minutes of football, and played one season when he played every game for Spurs. You wonder how they got away with it.
I know. But
you just wonder how they got away with it.
The situation, I suppose, with modern-day football is that they're saying that, the game is a lot quicker, somehow there isn't as much recovery time, and maybe players get brought back too soon. But then Klopp is being very, very careful with old Sturridge, isn't he? Saying, doesn't matter what he says, unless he can do, 10 days training straight, he's never going to come back and play.
Absolutely true. Now, what's all the fuss about old Pepe?
Well, Pep Guardiola, you mean?
I thought we all knew what the Pep story was when he announced, what was it?
It was on the 20th of December, he said, I'm not renewing my contract with Bayern Munich.
2 weeks ago, I'm not renewing that. Well, yeah, OK, so we all assumed then, in fact, we all knew then, those of us on the inside, so to speak, that he was coming to the Premier League. That was obvious. There's nowhere else for him to go.
Well,
he'd conquered Spain, he'd conquered Germany.
Well,
what's the third greatest league?
Apparently he was approached by Real Madrid before they gave the job to old Zinedine Zidane.
Yeah, but he clearly wasn't going to take that. He wanted to come to this country, and now it seems even more sure to go to Manchester City because of the former Barcelona connection with the people there. Chelsea making a late bid. But I don't understand why all of a sudden he was leading all the sports bulletins. Oh, Pepe says he wants to come to the Premier League. Yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
Or at least I thought I knew.
Well, I mean,
I thought everybody else did.
all the back pages are getting terribly excited about it, aren't they?
Yes.
But, I mean, who knows? I'll tell you what was very funny. There was a cartoon doing the rounds on Twitter today, which somebody sent me, and it was a picture. It was a picture of Zinedine Zidane walking up to the front door of Rafa Benitez.
Yes.
And Rafa Benitez opening it, and Zinedine Zidane headbutting him. And it just went, bon anniversaire.
Bon anniversaire, yeah, that's a
that was very good.
Of what happened in the World Cup final, of course, yes.
Yes.
Yes, OK, very
so I'll read you
interesting.
a few more tweets on this.
Yes.
Here's one from Becky. He says, yes, so long as Porky doesn't threaten to take his clothes off in protest, she says, in terms of voting it for null and void. Tom says, the people outside are going to hijack the vote from now on. Big mistake making the vote void. And
exactly.
Def says, thanks to Porky, my timeline on Twitter is now awash with more than one tit, he says.
Sorry? Should we have read that out on the air?
Why not?
It's a family show.
It's a family show, is it?
Yes.
Oh, what, while you're being bolstered by some webcam girl?
No, well, I don't know anything about her background, and I don't make judgments on individual people.
No, I'm glad that you don't. Here's one from Jim, who says, how on earth can Porky ever again profess to any vestige of upstanding Christian morality and values in the light of this latest blatant demonstration of condoning a situation so sordid and one that appeals to the lowest and basest of human behaviour? Hashtag horrendous hypocrisy.
Well, there's one here which points out that you are the gerrymander of the decade, OK? And it says, MG, you need to take it on the chin and wish Porky all the best and stop gerrymandering the winners and losers competition.
When you've won it in the past...
And that's what you're doing.
No, when you've won it in the past...
This is a fantastic example of your gerrymandering obsession.
No, when you've won it in the past, I've been very happy to congratulate you. When I've won it in the past, you're the one that's accused me of all sorts of jiggery pokery.
Yeah. Anthony here says, if this young lady had been on your side instead of mine, right...
No, I wouldn't have allowed it.
MG would have by now abandoned his kids again and ran off with her, like he has done in the past.
Yeah, really, that's very nice.
Porky is the winner this week.
Well, that's very
everybody's
nice.
on my side.
I've never abandoned any of my children, thank you very much.
I think everybody's on my side. And Dylan makes the point, I think the Benny Hill theme tune is in order. Used to love Benny Hill. I thought it was a great show, and I thought he was a great guy. And it was the politically correct brigade who got rid of him.
I don't think anybody got rid of him. He just stopped doing the show, didn't he?
Well, he died, actually.
Yeah, well, that would be another reason.
Well, that didn't help him to make any more new shows, I agree. You know, he died on
Mr. Benny Hill, can you do another show for us?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, he's dead.
No, he is, yeah, but what I'm saying is that one of the favourite rerun shows was always Benny Hill.
Yeah.
But then when the new burghers of television came along and said, I'm not sure we like to see Benny Hill chasing around after women in short skirts wearing stockings and suspenders, you know, that's all very dreadful and all this kind of stuff, people actually thought that was quite funny and quite nice and quite liked it, and it was uplifting.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm just slightly distracted because your new friend Harriet Sugar Cookie has just rung the show.
Oh, really?
Do you want to speak to her?
Well, I don't think you should be so dismissive as you are.
So you will
being.
speak to her then?
I will speak to her. If she's a follower and a listener to this show and she wishes to contribute, I'm very happy to enter into dialogue.
OK. Well, we'll get her on in a second, shall we?
Right.
Craig says this, a new low for Porky tonight, and can you believe that cam girl thinks she is hard done by? Dennis says Porky's
why is it a new low? Why is it a new low for me?
It's a new low because of the people that you seem to be now, encouraging to gerrymander the vote on your behalf.
I'm not encouraging anybody to gerrymander it. I'm merely being respectful to one of the millions of people who tune in and listen to this show and who want to have a say in something that we encourage them to have a say in, i.e. voting in a competition that we put on every Monday. I don't understand your problem.
Well, my problem is that it's been hijacked by an outside source.
It's not being hijacked.
We're going to talk to an outside source. This is not a show that has prizes, right? We don't offer prizes for people to win things, right?
No.
In the same way that people should not be being offered inducements to vote for either you or for me.
But nobody is being offered an inducement.
Well, Harriet's offering to show her breast to anyone who votes for you.
Well, Harriet's an individual person. That's for her to decide. I can't do anything about that.
She's a webcam girl.
Well, I don't care what webcam means. I don't know what it means.
Well, we'll get Harriet to explain it to you.
I don't care what she chooses to do as a profession, but if she's on the line, let's speak to her.
Harriet, very good morning to you.
Hi.
How are you? Can you explain to Porky what a webcam girl is, please?
I'm a little nervous. So, okay, I think you guys have really got what I do a little bit wrong. I just want to say now that I don't charge for what I do. My webcam show is entirely free. In fact, it's online now, and I just talk to people mostly about things I like, which includes sports. In fact, I was really going on about the England versus South Africa match the other day. But yeah, films, comics, everything. We just talk, and I don't charge anything. And then if people want to tip me because they're enjoying the show,
they can
do.
you.
It's
Okay.
pretty much like what you guys do. You just talk to people, you entertain people, and if they like it. Like, for instance, if
I don't think it's anything
me,
like. No, I don't think it's anything like. We don't get tips.
Well, hang on.
Say,
Let's
Harriet.
get down to the actual facts here. Harriet, you put up a message saying that you would flash your breasts if I won tonight. That surely was a light-hearted joke, wasn't it?
Of course it's a joke. Your entire show is about banter. I mean...
Exactly.
If you're,
what you mean? So what are you saying, Harriet? Are you saying, Harriet, if he does win, Harriet? Hang on, Harriet. Are you saying if he does win, you're not going to do it?
Of course I would do it. I keep a promise.
So it's not a joke then, is it?
You've literally got... It's fun and light-hearted.
Harriet, sorry. That's it. I'm sorry. I hope we... No, we don't need that.
See, that's the kind of person we're dealing with.
No, we're not. We're dealing with somebody who's overexcited about being involved in the show,
Right.
who's had a bit part in the show.
Did we not
and all
just
that
have to
kind of
remove
stuff.
her from the air?
We have had to
Because of something she said?
Overexcited.
Yeah,
and,
overexcited, but not something that you would normally be happy to promote.
I would not promote that dialogue,
No.
to be honest.
Well, you're
under
now...
any circumstances.
so now you can distance yourself from her if you wish.
Yeah, but hang on. She did make it absolutely clear she is not a lady who is in the sex business.
Yes, she is.
No, she's not.
She gets tipped for doing things on the webcam. She just admitted that.
She said, I am not a practising cam girl. I do not charge for what I do. I have a laugh.
She is a cam girl. She said
I
she
engage
was.
in communication with other people like you guys do.
Right. I don't think you're getting the right end of the stick here, but never mind. We've still got the vote going. Should the vote for winners and losers be declared null and void, you can vote on the two mics, at the two mics, I should say. It's open until 2:30. This is Talk Sport.
Bienvenue au weekend sports breakfast avec Michelle Quinn et Georgie Bingham, the Talk Sport with Benno Vance. It's the breakfast show that cooks up a soufflé of sport and a pan au chocolat of pre-match build-up every Saturday and Sunday morning on Talk Sport. The hors d'oeuvre to another big weekend feast of football.
Hey, La, does anyone know the French for meat pie?
The Weekend Sports Breakfast with Mickey Quinn and Georgie Bingham. Saturday and Sunday mornings from 7 on Talk Sport with Benno Vance. 4 years warranty and roadside assistance as standard. Ooh la la.
I don't understand it. These trousers fitted all right before Christmas.
Need some help, dear?
No, it's fine. They fit before, they'll fit now. Yeah! That'll be the button gone then. Oh, and that's the seam as well.
January needs more good stuff. So Asda's got all these lovely products all at 50p.
Like loose red peppers, they're 50p. Loose green peppers, also 50p.
Kiwis, kale, Savoy cabbage and baking potatoes, all
50p. Heinz tomato soup, Heinz vegetable soup, 50p. And yup, 50p.
pots of ambrosia,
Again, 50p. Jaffa cakes, bachelor super noodles, and original Oreo and vanilla Oreo biscuits, all 50p. To help make January that little bit better. Asda. Save money, live better.
Selected line stores and availability. Kiwis, kale, Savoy cabbage and baking potatoes end 13th of Jan.
If you fancy a flutter on the football, a gamble on the golf, a double on the darts, or a treble on the tennis, you're in luck. Get closer to the action every weekend with Betway's Man in the Know on the Weekend Sports Breakfast with Georgie Bingham and Mickey Quinn. Bringing you all the form on the football, the going at Goodwood, the tries at Twickenham, and the overs at the Oval. Every Saturday and Sunday morning from 7 on TalkSport with Betway. Bet now at betway.com.
Talk Sport.
Oh, my word!
Anyone fancy a game?
I don't know how, but it's in!
On DAB, digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Best of all, it's totally free.
That's unbelievable, man.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up a little bit later on, Ask Porky. And if you want to have a question asked, we've got loads already, of course.
Yep.
Just send it in at the two mics or on our Facebook page.
I will
where
change
we've
your
got,
life.
An awful lot going on as well, because he's here to help. And I
Indeed.
think we'll all forgive him for making a bit of a blunder earlier on in the show.
No, I didn't make a blunder at all.
Well, we're not going to go on about it
we're not
anymore.
going to go on about it,
We're
no.
not- but there is the current vote is going into 2:30. We will make a reference to it at the end of 2:30, and you will be declared either the winner or perhaps not the winner, depending on how that vote is going. And the vote will be declared void employed or not. Let's talk to Dan Thomas, who's over in the US of A, works for ESPN. Dan, a very good morning to you.
Morning, boys. How on earth do I follow Heather Sugarplum?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Just don't say what she said, and then we'll be able to keep you on the air. That'll be the main thing.
And if you're voting in the vote Porky, by the way, Dan. That's the one prerequisite this evening.
Exactly right.
The penmanship was quite impressive, wasn't it?
It was indeed.
Yes,
absolutely
exactly,
right.
yeah.
I mean, you never quite know what's going to happen on this show, but
Sure.
let's talk in the first instance about Liverpool's injury problem, because yes, they got a decent win. I think Stoke were very good last night. Liverpool take a step towards Wembley, but what's going on with all these hamstring injuries?
Well, this is it, boys. I'm afraid I'm not a doctor, so I can't really help with regards to what's going on there. But I was chatting today with Steve Nicol, who was on the show, and I was saying, Steve, what would you prefer? Everybody fit or to make it through to Wembley in this Capital One Cup final? He said, well, look, silverware, but you're paying a cost. You know, we talk about Liverpool, and I heard you talking about the fact that maybe something's going on in the warm-up or whatever, but at the end of the day, they're playing a lot of matches. You've got the Europa League as well. Jurgen Klopp, we know, is taking that seriously, and that's got to take its toll on what is, let's face it, not a particularly deep squad.
No, it's not a particularly deep squad, but they are going to have to rely, Dan, on results like this. You know, a smash and grab, 1-goal victory, but you can see Liverpool in their current mood throwing that away at Anfield in the second leg, can't you?
Yeah, I know. You wouldn't take it for granted whatsoever.
No, you wouldn't. You definitely wouldn't. No.
Stoke aren't going to be that bad again. Let's face it. I don't know what happened to them in this game. Obviously, we went into it talking about the fact this fantastic four-pronged attack that they've got, yet you take a look at it today and it was just completely blunt, and you would imagine that Stoke would have been up this game more than Liverpool in a sense that this is their one big chance of silverware for the season.
Yeah, or even for the decade, because they're not exactly...
Well, decade?
Yeah, I mean, they're not...
Hang on. That's being a little bit
I'm just saying that Stoke aren't regular visitors to Wembley. I mean, they had the first visit there in 40 years under Tony Pulis.
But do you not believe that they're one of these teams that are on the kind of the slow rise up the league?
No, I think they're an erratic team. I mean, for instance, Dan, as I painfully remember very recently, Stoke went to Goodison Park and came away with a famous victory. In the next game, they got
I know. We love
beaten
this
at home,
narrative, don't we? Look at Stoke. They used to be boring, long throw, but look, now they've changed it. Now they're Barcelona-like. No, they're not at all. They had a 4-3 against an Everton defence, which is as flat as anything at the moment. Yeah. They beat United and they beat a City team without company, and we know what they do at the back.
Sure.
As fun as and attractive they are to watch, I think I'm right in saying they haven't got as many goals as Sunderland this season.
That's right. I think they can be like that. Nevertheless, they've made great progress tonight, haven't they? In the sense that they've got as far as the semi-final of the League Cup. So under Mark Hughes, they've become a progressively better team, haven't they?
Yeah, I suppose. I'm not sure if a litmus test is a Capital One Cup, though, and their progression in that. Surely I don't think so.
No?
Well, if you say Stoke fan, what is your priority this season? Do you want to make the semi-final of the Capital One Cup, or do you want to make top six?
Well,
then it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
I don't. They make top six, though. You say, and I think.
But do you remember that year they made the Europa League?
Every club has to go.
But do you remember that year they made
cups?
the Europa League, and then they got all the way down to the sort of the final 16, I think it was.
They did.
Went to Valencia, and I think it was Tony Pulis, if I'm right in saying, Dan, took a very, very weakened side down there, and they just got themselves knocked out. So it's the old dilemma for some of these teams: get yourself into the top six, get into the Europa League, but then try and get out of the Europa League because you want to concentrate on the Premier League.
Yeah, but then I suppose you would say, well, it's then a stepping stone to get further, isn't it? You finish top six 1 year and then you start, setting your horizons higher. But as you say, what's the point of being in a competition like the Europa League? You're just going to throw it in the round of 16. But I suppose we're discussing Liverpool. We know Jurgen Klopp isn't going to do that because in Germany, obviously, they take it a lot more serious.
Sure. Now, what about the other one which happens tonight, Dan? And that is, of course, my team, Everton, versus Manchester City. I think City are there for the taking because they are another very erratic team. Whereas Everton are just waiting to explode against somebody and fulfil and... Excuse me.
Dan, I sympathise with you. If you get Porky's having a bad night. If you start laughing at him, who knows what you can do?
And fulfil...
Everton have waited to do what, sorry?
Everton are one of these days explode and fulfil their massive potential, which has been latent this season. Do you know what kinetic energy is, Dan? Or are you bright enough to know what kinetic energy is? Kinetic energy...
I know what blind faith... I know what blind faith is. You watch Everton over the last few weeks. They've been fantastic to watch as a neutral because you never know what's going to happen.
Yes, well,
This isn't a team just on the precipice of exploding into greatness in 2016.
Yeah, they are. They are. Come on, we've got the best defender... We've got the best young defender in the world in John Stones. We've got we've got a
John
man.
Stones narrative. Just because Chelsea wanted him doesn't make him the best defender in the world.
We've got a man who's going to command the English midfield for the next decade, right? In young Barkley. We've got
Barkley.
We've got Lukaku, who's going to turn into one of the world's great forwards. I mean, the spine of our team is immaculate. And
what about Tim Howard at the back end of it?
Sorry?
What about Tim Howard at the back end of it?
Tim Howard is a very, very competent professional.
Over here, what's going on? What's happened? Why do Everton fans not like him anymore?
Well, it's not that. He's made a couple of blunders, that's all. And if your goalkeeper makes a blunder, it's far more obvious to the fans than a defender or a midfield player making a blunder because they can be covered by other people, that's all. So it's simply a matter of that. But what I'm saying is, I think Manchester City are extremely vulnerable in certain circumstances, like, for instance, when you've got a forward like Lukaku playing against them, when you've got a midfielder like Barkley, when you've got a tremendous
maybe when Barkley,
like
Barkley will have a chance to show himself against some people like David Silva, won't he?
Sorry?
What? What do you mean, sorry? When are you not listening to me?
Well, because I don't understand what point you're making. You're trying to say that David Silva's better than Barkley?
Yeah, I think he is, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I don't accept that. I'm sorry.
You think Barkley's better than David Silva?
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you're trying to make out that you're talking about the boy and the man situation here. And
I think so.
You're not.
Well, I think that's what's going to happen. I mean, I'm saying I think it's going to be a Manchester City-Stoke final, funnily enough.
Oh, really, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Manchester City-Stoke. I think it'll be an Everton-Liverpool final.
What do you reckon, Dan?
I don't know. It's over.
What do you mean you don't know?
You get very excited about it. I just don't quite. Like Manchester City going into it, and this is what, their fourth on their list of priorities, probably their fourth priority this year, isn't it?
Well, it depends.
I'll
tell you what, your priorities through January and February can soon be whittled down from 4 to 1 in a very short period of time. You've got a one cup in the semi-final, you've got the FA Cup in the third or fourth round, you suddenly lose ground in the Premier League, you're turned over in Europe. It can go from 4 to 0, Dan, in the same amount of time as it takes you to be dismissive about an Everton team which contains 3 potential world superstars.
They've got 3 potential world. I thought they were world superstars.
Yeah.
Well, they very soon will be.
Yeah. Well, as you'll find out, Dan, the mood goes from bleak to triumphant in a space of seconds. Dan, thanks very much indeed. Dan Thomas there from ESPN. Let me read you this, right? You'll be surprised at this from Andy in Cleethorpes, right?
Cleethorpes. It's a great place, yeah.
He says, morning, chaps. Great show as normal. Just to bring to your attention, as you would have missed live coverage from Blundell Park of Grimsby Town versus Lincoln game, which resulted in the Mariners destroying our neighbours 2-0. There was a huge banner displayed in the pontoon stand, which is the Grimsby end, with the words, Talk Sport, get Mike Parry back on prime time.
I can't believe that.
Well, I don't know. If anybody's got a picture of that, we'd love to see it. You can tweet it at the 2 Mics. Well, it's very possible.
Where was this?
This was at the Grimsby Town Lincoln game.
That's Boothbury Park, isn't it? Grimsby.
He says Blundell Park.
Oh, Blundell Park, I'm sorry. Yeah, Blundell Park, yeah.
That's from Andy Cleethorpes.
Well, somebody must have taken a picture of that. If you've got a picture of that, please send it in, because I find that almost impossible to believe.
Yeah. And here's one from John in Durham, right? Who says he regularly sends texts. He says, I was on holiday in Fuerteventura over Christmas and got friendly with this chap who used to work for the Express as a sub-editor. Turns out he knows you well, as you were the editor at said paper. His name is Rod Jones. Yeah, well, I was the night editor. He said, small world, as I love the show. Do you remember Rod Jones?
Rod.
Yeah.
Rod.
Rod Jones, a great guy.
Was he?
He was from the Midlands. He had sort of very short hair when I knew him.
Yes.
Or sometimes almost a shaved head. Rode a motorbike. And he says, P.S. Rod said to say hello, and I have to call him if you read out the text and elaborate about Rod.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Rod was a great guy.
Terrific
Fantastic
guy. Was he there in my day?
I would have thought so, yeah.
Yeah, well, he may have...
You didn't have much truck with the sub-editors, though, did
Well,
you?
I didn't have a lot to do with
shouting at them.
No, it wasn't. The point was, between me and the sub-editors was the night editor, the job that you took
Which was my job, yeah.
And in those days, it was a guy called Terry Manners.
Yeah.
And Terry could be erratic.
Yes, I understand.
You know what I mean?
said that in the past.
Yeah.
You don't have to name him.
No. Well, Terry's a great guy. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But he felt the stress sometimes, and he often self-medicated to relieve himself of the stress.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No, indeed.
Yeah.
Now, I've got some amazing stories to tell you coming up in the show.
Okay.
There's a guy that I've discovered who wants to swim the Atlantic.
Swim the Atlantic?
Single-handedly.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose you would swim the Atlantic single-handedly.
Yes.
But that's a great story. We're going to talk about Jeremy Corbyn as well, because, he's having this supposed night of the long knives, which has taken 2 nights.
Yeah.
And he keeps getting rid of people and moving people around.
Yes.
For disloyalty. But it's all very unclear as to why he's doing it. But it strikes me that he's becoming a kind of a Kim Jong-un type figure, where he wants to get rid of people who don't agree with him.
I know, it's amazing. And I want to talk to you as well about prosopaganosia.
Oh, yeah, what's that?
prosopagnosia.
It sounds painful.
No, it's not. It's a complaint that's suffered by over 1 million people in this country,
right.
And it's you lose the ability to recognise somebody's face.
Really?
You get face recognition blindness.
I mean, because I don't fail to recognise people's faces.
Yeah.
I'll sometimes look at somebody's face, but I can't remember their name. Is that the same thing?
No, you get face recognition blindness.
What, so you actually would look at me and not realise who I was?
You can wake up in the morning next to somebody who's been your husband for like 25 years and not recognise his face.
That could be an advantage in some cases.
Well, it could be, but it can be very frightening in another. You think there's a stranger in bed with you, and it's a terrifying condition.
Oh,
but it's suffered by 1 million
Where did you
people.
find this stuff from?
In my medical journals.
Really?
And it's something I want to award the nation about. Definitely.
Okay.
Coming up in the show later on.
All right, excellent.
I'll tell you all about it. Prosopagnosia.
Okay. I'll try. I'll try practicing saying that.
Yeah.
Also, we've got a guest coming up in the next hour who's going to talk about Roswell. You know what Roswell is, don't you?
Roswell.
Not Jack Roswell.
That's where the only alien we've ever seen on Earth lies buried.
Well, we don't know whether there's an alien there.
Yeah, well, there's half an alien.
But there's
most of his left leg went missing.
Well, there's a great mystery about whether it happened or not, whether, what was going on.
The bald alien, wasn't it?
Yeah. And which looked very much like one of those kind of, Close Encounters of the Third Kind type aliens.
Right, yeah.
But apparently Hillary Clinton has vowed that if she becomes president, she will investigate Roswell.
Oh,
she's the first
really?
She's the first
What a waste of time.
Well, she's the first politician that's really taken it seriously.
Good God.
Has
she got anything better to do?
Well, she's gerrymandering for votes from the nutters, isn't
All those things like the Iowa and New Hampshire primaries are coming up, aren't they?
Primaries?
Primaries.
Primaries,
yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, well, the vote takes place in November, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And the party leaders will be declared by July, i.e.,
January. You mean July this year?
No, I mean in July this year we'll know the leader of the Democrats and the Republicans are, and who's fighting for the presidency.
Exactly.
Quite right.
Fascinating. Quite a big year, actually.
Yeah, a big year.
So lots of things going on. Also, don't forget you can still vote until 2:30 as to whether or not the winners and losers vote.
In the gerrymander vote.
Should be
the official gerrymander vote is now open.
Null and void.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics, and of course, what are you looking at now? Why are you waving your pen at me?
Because I've got a very worrying message here, right? And I was going to raise this issue about young Dan Short, OK?
Dan Short?
Dan Thomas.
Oh, Dan Thomas, the guy that was just on?
Yeah, from ESPN, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure who this young man thinks he is, but I found him rather impudent, OK?
Yes.
I mean, does he know he was talking to the Porkmeister
Well,
about,
I don't know whether he did.
Issues
well,
like
I think it was refreshing that he reacted to your love of Everton and your kind of bigging up of Everton in the way that he did.
Well, I've got one here from a guy called Ecklim, right?
Yeah.
And he says, ha, 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 Dan Thomas of ESPN laughing at Mike Parry was brilliant. Hope to hear more of Dan on the two mics with Cale Murray. Who's Cale Murray?
K Murray.
K Murray.
Cale Murray.
Well, it says here Cale Murray. Spelt it as Cale.
K-L Murray.
Oh, Cale Murray. RMTV.
What?
RMTV.
Real Madrid TV.
Oh, I see. OK, fine.
Well, she used to be there,
yeah,
but
exactly.
now she's with beIN Sports. She was on the show last night.
OK, so...
Cale Murray. I'm going to keep calling her that from now on.
So old Dan Thomas thinks he's so smart. Well, let me just tell Mr. Thomas, right, if you're still listening, Danny boy, I'm looking now at an analysis of tonight's game up to Manchester City from Tony Cascarino, who is fated in this country as one of the most astute football pundits in the media village, OK?
Yes.
He says Lukaku can exploit City's soft centre, OK?
Right.
He picks up areas where Everton can succeed. He says Joel Robles will be playing for Everton instead of Tim Howard. That is a good thing, OK?
Right.
He says there's an irresistible force versus a movable object. He says even the best centre-backs struggle to cope with Romelu, I beg your pardon, Lukaku.
Romelu.
Yeah, Romelu Lukaku and his ability to run onto balls, play down the side of them, on form, Eloquin Mangala and Nicholas Otamendi are a long way short of being tough enough to play against Lukaku, OK?
Yeah, OK.
And also, it says the crowd.
So is Tony Cascarino predicting Everton win then?
Well, he's saying that Everton have got a very good chance.
Well, I'm sure that's true. I think that's absolutely correct.
But he's saying that if Lukaku's on form and Everton, go at it and apply themselves to their job, they have got a very good chance of coming away with a great result.
And it is certainly live on Talk Sport, so you'll be able to hear it all here. Now, Stu in Darlington agrees with our friend Dan, though. He says, did Porky really just say Barkley was better than Silva? I won't be able to sleep for laughing.
I didn't say that.
Idiot.
I said
you did start saying that.
No, I said I resented that you were trying to make out it was a, man versus boy situation. They're not even a millimetre apart, let alone a gulf apart like that.
Okay.
You were saying that was a difference of the Grand Canyon between the two.
No,
That's not true.
No, I didn't say anything like that.
Yeah,
All I said was that, it will be interesting to see Ross Barkley up against people like David Silva to see how good he really is, that's all.
Okay, Lou here, he says, hang on, my information machine's just gone blank on me. He says, the two Mikes, what a fantastic debate. I nearly fell out of bed in stitches. This is why it's a nighttime show. Keep it going, fellas, but let the vote stand. See, because when I'm winning, all he has
to do is go to the two Mikes now and vote on whether or not to let the vote stand. That's why it's a democracy.
Yeah.
If there are more votes for no than there are for yes, then the vote will stand. Absolutely no problem at all.
But why we're having a vote about
because
the vote
I think that clears everything up.
Is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, I think it clears everything up. His Mike in Isha says, can you please stop Porky from speaking in Americanisms? Firstly, it is repeats, not reruns, and kinetic, not kinetic. Please speak English.
No, well, I am honestly an expert in the English language, so I know exactly how to pronounce it.
That has been said before.
And I wouldn't worry too much about it, guys. Okay.
Okay.
Do we have an update on the second vote?
What?
Do we have an update on the second vote?
I just gave you an update.
What was it?
Hang on, that's the old one, isn't it? So what we need now is the new one.
Yes.
Should the vote for winners and losers be declared null and void? Yes, 49%, no, 51%.
Well, there you go, you see.
So it's running until 2:30.
So it doesn't look as though you're even going to win your gerrymandered attempt.
It's not a question of winning or losing. I'm just trying to adjust the balance of what was fair and what was unfair.
Yeah,
I'm perfectly happy to lose. I've always been happy to lose. Whenever I lose, I always congratulate you. Whenever you lose, you always accuse me of gerrymandering.
The Irish Saint has come back and saying...
Irish Saint?
Yes, there is definitely a bit of gerrymandering. What are you laughing at?
It's not an Irish saint.
No,
it's a guy who has a picture of a saint.
Saint Francine.
I thought it was Saint Teresa.
Saint Francine, I think.
You told me it was a Saint Teresa.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay, it could have been Saint Teresa. I thought there was only one Teresa, and that was Mother Teresa.
No.
Didn't there was another one?
No, there's a different Saint
Anyway,
Teresa.
it says it's obvious there's quite a lot of gerrymandering on tonight's podcast. And then Father Larry Richards. That's how he
How do you know he's
himself.
Irish?
Sorry?
How do you know he's Irish?
Well... It's a bit of a weird one, this. It says, in this... What's you laughing at? What's the problem?
It's just the way you read these things out.
In this love, not that we have loved God, but that he loved us and sent his son as an explanation of his sins. Sorry, that's a quote from the Bible, so I'm not reading that out because... What's your problem? What's wrong with you now?
Can you not read it
What's
again,
wrong with
please?
You now?
No, I'd just like to hear you reading it again.
Why? Because I didn't know it was a quote from the Bible.
He who is without sin cast the first stone. Is that sort of thing you want to try
well, it comes
and say?
from John 4:10, apparently.
Really?
Anyway, there you go.
There you go.
Right.
Michael says, is Porky referring to being a cunning linguist? Fits in well with his new sidekick from Webcam Babes.
Yeah, I'm not going to respond to smutty little insinuations like that, okay? Right.
Gareth says, this has been the funniest episode since the Ghost Sex Show.
What? Oh, the ghost sex show, that's right. Yeah. People having sex with ghosts.
Now, there's one here from Jay. It says, what is Porky's opinion on Trump's presidential candidacy? That's not really one for Ask Porky, so I can ask you that one now.
What's that?
Trump's presidential candidacy.
Well, this is very interesting because I was going to talk to you about this, and I'm glad you've raised it.
Yes.
Now, Donald Trump is a very unusual man. By the way, did you see old President Obama shedding a few tears today when he was talking about the school massacre? Was it Columbine he was talking about?
No, he was talking about Connecticut, wasn't he?
Connecticut, that's right, he was, yeah. And I don't like to see presidents cry because it means
I don't like it either.
Actually, they're incapable of sorting things out. But what I found astonishing... apply myself to our American journals, is that, did you know now that in Texas, far from them reining back on gun laws and saying we must keep them under control, they've now actually relaxed gun laws so that, believe it or not, for the first time since 1897, you can now wear a holster like John Wayne around your waist. Literally, a belt around your waist with a holster on your right leg tied to your thigh with a revolver in it.
The day that this policy was enacted, there were pictures being sent around the world of guys going into their local deli with an AK-47
strapped over their back,
their shoulder. It's just an extraordinary state of affairs. And because, I mean, when I used to go to Texas back in the 80s, you'd quite often go into a bar and there'd be a sign at the bar saying, please check your weapon at the door.
At the door, that's right.
Because there'd be a lot of people who would carry a concealed weapon, but they weren't allowed to carry them openly, which is what they are now allowed to do.
I went into one place once in Waco, it was the scene of the Great Inferno.
The Branch Davidians.
David, or whatever his name was. And
David Koreshi.
That's him, yeah. And in one bar there, at the door, they just said, please unload your weapons here. And if you had a weapon...
Unload them?
You had to unload them. So if
you mean like fire them?
No, if you had a weapon and it was a gun, you had to put it in this metal box, which was a very strong metal box, and empty all the bullets in and pick them up on your way out.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite cynical.
Incredible. Well, I'll tell you one of the statistics I heard tonight, which I thought was amazing. It was on ITV News. Apparently now Barack Obama is known as the greatest seller of guns that America's ever seen.
Absolutely.
And in the 7 years that he's been in charge,
the gun
ownership
has doubled.
Has practically doubled.
It's literally doubled.
But also every time he talks about gun control, they sell more guns.
I know they do. Yeah, they keep.
I mean, as soon as he says anything, the sales go rocketting up through the roof.
The gun industry just want him to keep talking about guns because you're absolutely right. But wouldn't it be amazing if, next time we go to Texas, you'd actually see somebody who looks like John Wayne walking around with a gun holster and... can you imagine how dangerous that would be if the guy had a couple of whiskies and he's walking the street and all of a sudden somebody over the other side of the road said, hey, stop that guy, he's just stolen my wallet. Right. The guy would whip out his gun, John Wayne style, say, don't worry, I'll bring him down. Yeah. Bang, bang, bang. I mean, it's like the Wild West.
Well, this is it. I mean, Ted Cruz, one of the other guys who's running for president, came out with his speech yesterday and he said, owning guns is not going to be the problem with the bad guys. Using those guns is going to be how we stop the bad guys.
But they always say that. They say that, a gun doesn't kill people.
Yeah.
It's the finger on the trigger that kills people.
Yeah. Well, there was a woman at one of these gun shows over the last couple of days that I was watching who was seemed like a very normal sort of mother of three.
Yes.
She said she was a mother of three. She lived in a home. She was a homemaker, as they call them over there, housewife. And she was there, and they said, what are you here to buy?
She baked cookies.
And she said, I'm here to buy a laser gun sight. And they were like, what? What are you going to do with that? And she's like, well,
what was she hoping to do? Like, take out a pigeon 200 yards away or something?
She says, with all the trouble in the world, I want to be protected.
Yeah, I want to be protected.
It's like, why on earth would you need a laser gun sight? But that's one of the things we don't understand about the United States. Nobody in the entire world.
You asked me initially about Trump.
Yeah, we'll have to come back to that.
Well,
look at the time.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story about Trump. I'm going to tell you more about him in a minute.
We will come back to it. Only 15 minutes left to vote in whether the winners and losers vote should be declared null and void. This is TalkSport.
Vote Porky.
Bienvenue au weekend sports breakfast avec Michelle Quinn et Georgie Bingham, Sir Talk Sport with Benno Vance. It's the breakfast show that cooks up a souffle of sport and a pan au chocolat of pre-match build-up every Saturday and Sunday morning on Talk Sport. The hors d'oeuvre to another big weekend feast of football. Hey, La, does anyone know the French from Meat Pie? The weekend sports breakfast with Mickey Quinn and Georgie Bingham. Saturday and Sunday mornings from 7 on Talk Sport with Benno Vance. 4 years warranty and roadside assistance as standard. Ooh la la.
Whether you're saving up for a big anniversary or a coral reef diving holiday, the money you're putting aside is perfectly safe. Protected by the FSCS up to £75,000. Should anything happen to your bank, building society or credit union, it's completely automatic, free of charge, and you'll normally get your money back within 7 days. You'll probably never need us, but it's good to know we're here. Search FSCS Protected to check you're fully covered.
Roll up, ladies and gentlemen, and prepare to be amazed and astounded by Colin Murray's Carnival of Curiosities, featuring a feast of fascinating facts and a farrago of fiendish falsehoods to untangle from the tantalizing truths as Mr. Murray delights and astonishes you with his assortment of amicable acquaintances. Don't miss Fact or Fiction every Thursday morning from 10 on Talk Sport with Regain for Men Extra Strength Scalp Foam, scientifically proven to help stop and even reverse hereditary hair loss. Contains minoxidil. Always read the label.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
A terrific performance.
Turn of pace and eye for goal.
Shout about it.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Got one from Winston here. It's just not showing your Tory bias much, are you, MG? Sure, Cameron has all towing the party line. Don't let the facts get in the way.
What's that about?
Syria, hashtag Corbyn. Well, I was saying that, he's been firing people for disloyalty and moving them out of the shadow cabinet.
Corbyn? But apparently he hasn't.
With my Tory bias.
Yeah, well, no, but I mean...
He has tonight. That's what he's been doing.
Yeah, I know, but he had to pull short, didn't he? He hasn't sacked Hillary Benn yet.
He hasn't sacked Hillary Benn yet,
that's what I mean,
as far as we know, but he sacked a couple of other people and called it disloyalty.
They were were minor, weren't they?
I mean, he sacked the foreign affairs spokesman on the basis that he voted against Corbyn's
wasn't he the one that tweeted out this morning and said, "Hi, what a starter there, just been sacked by Jeremy Corbyn"?
No, that was like... No, I mean, the problem is it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, it has.
But anyway, this guy accusing me of Tory bias. Well, the fact is that, this is what's been happening, and that's what I'm reporting. But also the Tories have apparently said to their cabinet that they can either declare themselves for or against membership of the European Union, and they can campaign either way.
There's no three-line whip.
No, which is kind of unusual.
Yeah, but it's also clever by Cameron because he's looked back to the Thatcher years, he's looked back to the Heath years, and he's seen that Europe is the one issue which has torn previous Tory governments apart. Got rid of Mrs. Thatcher. In essence, it was the sort of the catalyst that started. Now listen, talking about politics, we were talking about Trump.
Because Sean has tweeted in here. He says, in answer to a question about Donald Trump, Porky starts a long conversation about Obama and guns.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
blank.
Yeah. Well, it's all about the same, isn't it? Obama is the current president, and Donald Trump wants to be the next president.
Yeah.
Now, what I was going to say to you was what I found very, very appealing about Donald Trump, apart from the fact that he's got 10 billion quid.
Yeah.
And does he still own the Plaza Hotel in New York?
I don't know if he does, actually.
No, well, he did at one time.
Most of Trump's kind of ownership of things only lasts for a short time.
Yeah, it does, that's right.
It's almost like he flips them, doesn't he?
I flew on Eastern Airlines once during a period when it was called Trump Airlines. He bought Eastern Airlines and then he kept that for about 2.5 years and then flogged it.
Well, he owns Turnberry, doesn't he? Because he's trying to redo the golf course and he's hoping to get it back on the open circuit. He owns that big place up in Aberdeen.
That's right. Now, another reason why I like Mr. Trump is because he is a germaphobe, OK? And he is a very serious germaphobe.
What, you mean he doesn't like to be in contact with people?
He will not shake hands.
A bit like yourself, you won't shake hands.
Well, I prefer not to be honest, But I mean, did you know that, for instance, during the course of his presidency, so far, President Obama has shaken hands with 255,000 people.
Blimey.
And Donald Trump says, forget it, I'm not doing it. A self-confessed germaphobe, the Republican frontrunners described shaking hands as a barbaric institution. I'm a clean hands freak. One of the curses of American society is the simple act of shaking hands, and the more successful and famous one becomes, the worse this terrible custom seems to get, he said.
Really?
In his book, The Art of the Comeback in 1997.
Are you saying this is a good thing or a bad thing?
I'm saying it's a very, very good thing. Trump is so dedicated to not attracting germs to his hands that he never pushes the buttons on an elevator. He has somebody to do it for him.
Right.
He feels that when...
Does he wear gloves or anything?
No, I don't think so. It says that, if that button has been touched by so many fingers over so many days without being clean, it must carry an awful lot of germs. I know what he means. Sometimes when you go to a hole in the wall, do you ever think about, I don't really want to push these buttons because some filthy individual with Ebola or something might have...
Not that you're in any way judgmental of people.
No. But
some filthy individual with Ebola.
Well, you never know, do you? You never know.
Why don't you just wear those latex gloves wherever you
go?
Well,
maybe you should.
Well.
Because what I'm thinking is you could pick up germs, couldn't you?
I'll tell you what, the only place that I do think of that, and I don't wish to make you feel squeamish here, is if I go to a toilet in a public place.
Oh, don't even talk about it. I never use them.
And in that case, I barely touch anything.
No, I totally agree. If I'm around town or anything and I feel the need to, seek ablutionary relief or whatever,
I try and go to a hotel or something.
I go to a 5-star hotel. And I don't
But even that doesn't stop the germs.
No, it doesn't.
But, I mean, my problem is that I'm occasionally with the kids in various places.
Yes, I know what you mean.
If I take a bowling or something, it was a bit weird. I took them actually to, I was meant to tell you this yesterday, but I didn't get around to it. Took them to see In the Heart of the Sea.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday.
Is that about Moby Dick?
Yesterday, yeah. It's about Herman Melville and getting the information to write the book Moby Dick.
Okay, yeah.
Quite an interesting film.
Okay, was it?
Yeah.
I mean, was there a lot of hunting Moby Dick down, though?
Yeah, there was, yeah.
Well, I don't like that, you see. I think that was one of the cruelest episodes in the history of seamanship.
But that's one of the good things about the movie, because if you're... Oh, sorry.
What do you
whacked the microphone.
Headbutting your microphone?
No, I hit it with my hand. I didn't headbutt it.
I thought you headbutted it.
No. Yeah. My head remained in place.
Right.
No, I mean, one of the things was that you got the sense that Moby Dick, the massive whale, was actually wreaking revenge on the whalers for horribly killing and butchering his fellow whales.
Yes.
And that was where, my 8-year-old, he's quite sensitive about these things.
Yeah.
didn't enjoy the fact that these guys were going out and just harpooning whales.
That's what I mean.
And then cutting them all up.
Yeah.
And he actually rather liked the idea that they were all now being chased by this mammoth whale.
And did the whale get them in the end?
Oh, yeah, it got most of them, yeah.
Well, it smashed up the boat and
Smashed
everything.
up the boat. They ended up in lifeboats.
And they all drowned, did
And
they?
some of them drowned. And some of them ended up... I don't want to give the story away, obviously, but some of them
Did the
ended
whale
up...
turn over any of the lifeboats?
Yeah.
Oh, right,
yeah.
excellent.
And
Oh,
not only turned over the
Yeah.
lifeboats, but followed them
Yeah.
all the way through the sort of Azores and into various ports of call
Brilliant.
where they were trying to be rescued, you know.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
excellent.
very good film.
I quite like
if you
that.
like that sort of thing.
I quite like that. Right, now then, what I was going to talk to you about was...
Well, we didn't quite finish the Trump conversation.
Well, I thought we had finished it. What
Well,
were you
not
going to say?
quite. Well, I suppose because somebody asked about what you thought about Trump.
Yes. Well, I've just
the,
told you.
The penultimate question is really, would you suspect that he will become the candidate for the Republican Party? Because only about 6 months ago, we had one of the foremost experts on American politics on the show.
Yes.
And he said he doesn't believe that Trump will actually get the nomination.
Well,
I wonder
I don't
whether
think
he's
he will.
changed his mind.
I don't think he will. I think at the last minute,
Really?
I think most sensible Americans will say, look, it's been
I
great
don't know.
theatre, and this man is, an energetic and thought-provoking candidate, but you couldn't see him as President of the United States of America,
Well, you
could
can't, but equally, he's a very, very big ego maniac.
He
and
is,
you can't
yeah.
see him dropping out if he still thinks of himself as the front runner. I mean, he had a rally up
Yes.
in Massachusetts the other day, which was filled with about 30 or 40,000 people.
Oh, I totally agree.
Extraordinary.
But the way things normally work in politics is that at some stage it'll be said to him, you know the way that Gordon Brown was persuaded to stand down by Peter Mandelson because Tony
To make
Blair
way
was
for Tony Blair,
Tony Blair was better looking.
And more electable, basically.
Yeah, Tony Blair was a better looking man.
Yeah.
He was known as Bambi. He had fantastic personality and warmth, whereas Gordon Brown was seen to be the famous, what's the difference between a ray of sunshine and a Scotsman with a grudge and all that kind of stuff. He was seen to be curmudgeonly and rather serious and overbearing, not very good looking.
And a bit weird, frankly.
And a bit weird
Yeah.
and a bit distant and not very attractive to English voters. And English voters make up the majority of voters in the United Kingdom, okay?
Right.
So I think what will happen here is, and I think Trump is very, very clever in what he's done. I think at some stage he'll probably concede to Mr. Cruz, who is his nearest challenger, okay?
Right.
And I think the outcome of that, because of the way America works, is that Trump will inherit contracts for billions of pounds in business.
So you think they'll buy him off, effectively?
I think they will, yeah. I think that's the way
I think you may
politics
not be
works.
very far from the truth,
Yeah,
though.
exactly.
Fascinating. So you don't hear that kind of political analysis anywhere else.
Exactly.
Roy says this, I was in West Texas, and it was a dry county, so I couldn't get a beer with dinner, but two guys came in wearing sidearms. # bizarre.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the sidearms? Like a
Well,
holster?
yeah, like a holster,
yeah. It is.
But you can't get a drink.
Can't get a drink, no. It's amazing, isn't it? I suppose the combination of a county in Texas, there are some counties in Texas you can get a drink, where you can you can get a drink and wave a rifle around. It
Yeah.
must be pretty intimidating, really, eh?
Yeah, I
Pretty
think so.
frightening.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You'd have to be careful what you said in those circumstances.
Absolutely.
I'm surprised, actually, in your travels across the United States
Yes.
when you were, spending a lot of time over there,
Exactly.
that you didn't get into more of those kind of run-ins.
I went to some really weird places. Little Rock is very weird, Arkansas.
Yeah, I never went there.
Which is the home of Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
It is the weirdest place I've ever been. And you know what the locals do? They have these tailgate parties where they load up the pickup truck. Remember, think of the American Pie song by Don McLean. Took the Chevy to the levee and the levee was dry and all that. What these guys do is they load up these pickup trucks with cases and cases of beer and cheap whiskey, and they go off into the forest. And they spend the whole weekend getting absolutely bladdered. I mean, literally on hooch, whiskey, beer and all that.
And what do they do in the forest? Just shoot things?
Shoot things, shoot animals.
Critters.
Shoot trees, shoot anything, Sometimes, apparently, you can hear it's like a fireworks show. They're all blasting away, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And deeply weird people and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's the weirdest place I've been. But I went to a place once in Alabama where, I'm not joking, I saw a local fellow and he told me it's only a few years back since people there stopped eating mud cakes.
Really?
They make cakes out of the soil in the ground because it's so rich in minerals.
Are you sure that wasn't them winding you up?
No. They eat mud cakes.
Mud cakes are not actually mud, though, are they?
They are. They are dug out of the ground, and they are baked in ovens. They're called mud cakes, and they are so rich in protein, things like copper and this sort of stuff. Yeah, I'm certain.
I'm certain. Have to check this out.
No, I'm certain.
Well, I'll tell you what, we've got a guest coming on from the United States.
Okay.
We might ask her.
Good idea.
We might ask him, in fact. Rob Simone, his name. He's a UFO expert.
Yeah.
We might ask him about Alabama mud cakes.
Alabama.
And Hillary Clinton as well, because she said that if she gets in charge of the United States of America, she's going to investigate whether Roswell actually happened.
How mad is that?
Well, we shall see.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport.
Talk Sport.
And it's in!
A diving header at the end of a 50-yard run.
From the root to the tip.
Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Some of you will, of course, recognise that music as the
X-Files.
The X-Files. And
I've never seen the X-Files, actually.
Have you never seen the show?
No, but Gillian Anderson, who was in it, is in the new War and Peace, which I'll be reviewing in Porky Vision tomorrow night.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that, yeah. The Daily Mail's been all over that like a rash, writing about how it's all been sort of sexed up and lots of Rogerisation going on. Now, we're going to talk about Roswell, which, of course, as you quite rightly say, is the place where most people think the only alien that ever came to the planet is somehow encased in Area 51. But Hillary Clinton, bizarrely, says that not only will she become the first woman president, but she says she's going to get to the bottom of the mystery behind UFOs.
Really?
Now, I guess if you worked in the CIA or any of the intelligence organisations in the United States, you might think that, well, she's not really going to have to get to much of a mystery because they'll tell her all about it. But let's talk to Rob Simone, who's a bit of an expert on this matter, and find out from him whether she's just trying to get some votes behind her. Rob, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Mike and Mike, it's so good to be back with you again.
Absolutely right. Now, listen, I've been trying to tweet out that you're coming on the show, but I can't find your Twitter address. Can you tell us what it is?
Oh, sure. It's very easy. It's at Rob_Simone, Simone.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's what I thought, but I couldn't find it. Anyway, we'll push that one out. What do you make of Hillary Clinton and this statement that she's going to get to the bottom of all of this?
Well, being a UFO expert and someone who has done their own radio show in London for more than 10 years, it's not surprising at all because she was caught up in this whole intrigue that happened while Bill Clinton was still in office. Bill Clinton was interested in the subject. His chief of staff, John Podesta, actually publicly called for the release of information about UFOs. And Lawrence Rockefeller, you know who he is, yeah?
Yeah.
He used to visit the White House quite often. The Rockefellers used to put up money for investigations about UFOs. And Hillary Clinton was seen and photographed holding a book given to her by Lawrence Rockefeller that is called Are We Alone? The Philosophical Implications of Discovery of Extraterrestrial Life. So
you're saying she already knows a bunch of stuff about this?
She's all tangled up in the Rockefeller Initiative, Bill Clinton, and her own investigations. Yeah, so this is actually just an extension of a declared interest she's had in the subject for more than 10 years.
Rob, isn't there a very big chance that although some, maybe I would say a minority of the electorate will say, oh, good, she's got a very open mind towards it, most of the electorate will accuse her of being a nutcase for wanting to investigate UFOs in the same way that it was revealed, albeit a long time after he stood down as president, that a lot of Ronald Reagan's decisions on a daily basis were made by his wife's astrologer. I mean, the American electorate don't like their presidents to be guided by, quotes, mystical forces, do they?
No, I think some people also feel quite hesitant about their elected officials, the presidents being guided by evangelical beliefs in a coming rapture and all the other things. I think it's just as troubling. But, this is not the first president or wannabe president to talk about UFOs. It goes back to, I think, really Jimmy Carter. You remember him?
Yeah, of course, the peanut farmer.
The man with lust in his heart.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah. What a great memory. He was pretty open to it. In fact, he and some other people saw a UFO and wrote a report about it before he'd ever really gotten into serious politics. And I happen to know, this is inside information, and I don't think this has ever been said before, other than my own show, that he was really good friends while he was in office with Shirley MacLaine, the legendary actress.
Yes.
And we all know Shirley MacLaine is a big proponent of UFOs and spirituality. She really brought this forward to many people with her books and movies. He used to call her while in office and describe his angst and describe his frustration over the fact that he tried to get information, tried to get things opened up, but he was shut down.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I can imagine there are agencies within the United States who think it's not right to let the president know about these things in case he just pulls funding or something like that.
Well, what about David Cameron? Do you think he's been read into the long and illustrious, career of these UFO
Well, he
sightings?
might have been. He might have been, for all I know. I mean, there could be all sorts of things going on, and the secret chambers. I mean, there's all, there's conspiracy theories around the world that the world is run by the 12 richest men in the world. Nobody else,
or lizards,
and nobody else has a say in it. How do we know it's not true? But I do think that.
How do you know it's not true?
Well, you don't know. It might be
you
true.
think it might be run by lizards?
No, you introduced lizards. I talked about the 12 richest men in the world having so much influence on the world because of their financial power that maybe they make all the decisions.
I never had you down as a tinfoil hat wearing person.
Well, I'm not a tinfoil hat wearing person. I don't know what you're getting into. As usual, you're being stupid. Now, Rob, what I'm saying is, could it be that in the same way that we know that the CIA don't tell the president everything they know about intelligence and what they get up to, because they can't tell the president that they've gone around murdering people in other parts of the world, there may well be agencies that don't tell the president about how much they know about UFOs.
Mike, once again, you have crystallized this issue because that's exactly what goes on. Think about it.
Yeah.
President gets elected. These military guys, there's a whole military-industrial complex that's been around a lot longer than these candidates who get elected. They don't know who these guys are.
Yeah.
So why read them in to the program? Why brief them about it? Because they're going to be gone in 4 years or 8 years.
Exactly.
And the cover-up about this information is so sensitive, not because people are going to lose their faith. If anything, it would liberate people from this very confined notion of we're all alone.
Yeah.
But the technology that these UFOs run on that could end our dependence on oil and all the other militaristic purposes that they have for these cover-ups is far outweighs letting some guy or some gal in office know the truth about this this issue that just spans every single intelligence agency.
Yeah, but it's very easy.
One.
But it's very easy, Rob, isn't it, to say just because we can't find out about something that there's a cover-up. Very easy to say that just because we haven't seen any UFOs that they definitely exist. I mean, isn't Hillary Clinton here just trying to appeal to the slightly less, shall we say, well-endowed mentally of voters to go, oh, great, we're going to find out what's happening in Roswell finally after all this time?
Well, actually, funny enough, John Podesta, who was the former chief of staff when Clinton was in office, is now running her campaign. And he actually tweeted, ask Hillary about UFOs. So this is kind of really coming from her own camp, which is unheard of.
Yeah. I think in some ways, Rob, I think presidents are rather naive about this because, as you quite rightly say, a president is only a temporary leader of a country. They're a politician. They have no knowledge of the background of intelligence. Now, for instance, take the Bourne films, okay, the Jason Bourne films. Now, in some of those films...
Well, the fictitious Bourne films.
Yes, but I believe they were based on intelligence from people who knew what was going on. What I'm saying is, Rob, in some of those films, the CIA were actually going around murdering their own people because they'd become surplus to requirements.
No.
Now, do you think that any man would walk into the Oval Office and say, Mr. President, it's Tuesday and it's a great day. Could you just sign these orders, please? And the President says, and what are these for? Well, we're going to wipe out about 15 of our agents who are no longer any use to us and they're based in Beirut and all this kind of stuff. That's the sort of situation that the President doesn't need to know about, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
Well, what about Libya? I mean, what about what happened in Libya? What about what happened during the whole, crisis in the Middle East, as it was known? Stuff's coming out about that all the time, and people are finding out about it, and the president did know about it.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that.
And so did Hillary Clinton.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about covert killing of individuals. I'm not talking about...
We're supposed to be talking about UFOs.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing.
Well, but But this is tied together because the reason why it's related is because there's all kinds of things that the president doesn't sign off on. There is all these black programs, all these compartmentalized programs. CIA is doing God knows what, God knows where. I mean, this is something that's been going on for, we've overthrown countries, we've killed dictators, and some things are making up the chain and some things don't. Now, this UFO issue and these other issues, they're spread around quite a bit, and they're just not part of what gets talked about. I think for a lot of reasons. I think, it started in Roswell, as you mentioned earlier, and it's because there was a Cold War mentality. Sure. And I think this UFO issue has been frozen in that Cold War mentality since 1947 when the Roswell thing happened.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we know enough about history,
we don't even know if there's an alien at Roswell. We don't even know if that happened.
No, I know we don't. But I'm giving examples of where presidents are kept in the dark. And I was going to use the example of Edgar J. Hoover, Rob, the head of the FBI, who actually made a policy of telling the president, John F. Kennedy, as little as he possibly could about what was happening inside America.
Yeah.
Didn't he?
Yeah, that's how they do it. It's about power and men and greed and influence and selling that influence. And, of course, wrapped around their own twisted worldview of American domination. It's a mess what goes on. And frankly, it's a wonder that we've all survived this long.
Yeah. It is a wonder we've all survived this long because people like you and Rob think that people are out there trying to kill everybody.
Yeah,
I can't believe you're getting involved in all this conspiracy nonsense.
It's not conspiracy nonsense. It's going on. No, you're naive. It's going on.
You've just told me that the Bourne films are what life is like. You should have lived in Reagan's time, which you did, because he was the one that went around saying basically that if you read Tom Clancy, you'll find out all about what's going on in the Russian Empire.
Well, he told that to Mrs. Thatcher.
Yeah, I know.
So he must have believed it.
Well, of course he believed it.
Well, don't you believe that the Bourne films are based on what actually happens inside the CIA?
No,
well,
of
I
course
do.
not. Well,
I
of course
do.
You believe that.
Because they will have gone to former CIA people and said, like, we need the truth. Here's $25,000. What goes on? Yes, I know.
And
I know so.
And so it's such a secret organisation. They went, OK, we'll tell you. You can make a film about it.
I said former CIA officers, and there's plenty of them around.
Yeah, of course there's plenty of them around. But, I mean, you've got to...
We know some of them. We used to mix with them in Washington.
You're supposed to be, don't forget, some kind of journalist. You're supposed to be able to take, the craziness and put it to one side and take the facts and put them to the other side.
You're acting like a schoolboy.
No, you've become like some kind of tinfoil hat-wearing nutter that used to ring into my old show.
I don't know what one of those is, I'm sorry.
This is Talk Sport.
Drive on Talk Sport, the UK's only sports-dedicated drive time with Sky Sports. The sharpest analysis on all the day's action from the giants of sport.
Shane Warne is with us on the show. How you doing, Shane?
G'day, guys. How are you?
Laser-guided comment and rapid reaction from a nation of sports fanatics.
Into the corner of the net.
Drive home with Darren Goff and Adrian Durham.
Who else?
Weekday afternoons from 4 on Talk Sport with Sky Sports, the home of the Barclays Premier League.
It's our biggest ever jackpot on Lotto this Wednesday. A whopping £50 million. Imagine if Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen won it.
And on your left we have Stonehenge with its Baroque facade. And is that a chandelier?
Anyone can win with Lotto. Please, don't let it be him. Play makes it possible.
Estimated jackpot subject to capping. Games rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Enjoy our best ever prices on our Christmas special sofas in the best ever DFS winter sale. But hurry, Christmas specials end today. DFS.
So what does a good teacher make?
My teacher makes me want to put my hand up as fast as I can in class.
My teacher makes me believe that I can be the best I really can.
My teacher just made me realise that not all subjects are bad.
Make a difference to thousands of lives, including your own. Tax-free bursaries are available to help you while you train. Teaching. Your future. Their future. Search Change to Teaching. Bursaries subject to eligibility.
The Form Zone on Talk Sport with Betfair. This is play. Listen to Talk Sport throughout the weekend for Betfair's experts' essential guide to all the latest form and odds as all the big teams face off. Everything you need to keep ahead of the game and make sure you know where the smart money is this weekend. Enter the Form Zone every weekend on Talk Sport with Betfair, where you can cash out in play on single or accumulator bets, so you can take your winnings before the end of the match. Selected markets conditions apply.
Football crazy.
Expert lineup.
Talks.
Played that is because it's to commemorate or signal the death of one of the greatest impresarios in the history of rock music, a guy called Robert Stigwood.
Robert Stigwood, the guy responsible really for the Bee Gees'
he was.
sort of multi-millionaire stardom.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, he had a whole stable of rock stars, but the stars of his stable of stars were the Bee Gees, without a shadow of a doubt.
I mean, you wouldn't really remember any others, would you?
Let me see. First media mogul in Britain to be dubbed Mr. Showbiz.
Yeah.
He went on to manage the careers of Cream, who Eric Clapton was a member of, The Who, Eric Clapton and the Bee Gees, as well as promoting Mick Jagger, Rod Stewart and David Bowie.
Yeah, but he didn't really do much. I mean, once he got the Bee Gees on a roll,
exactly.
I mean, he didn't do anything. I mean, he never managed any of those bands for any length of time.
Do you know what? I remember, and it's strange how your life suddenly goes into jigsaw pieces. I was once held up going over Tower Bridge, and the reason was...
Held up not by a gun?
No, Tower Bridge was opening.
Oh, I see.
Tower Bridge was opening, right?
That's quite rare, isn't it?
It is quite rare, and the barrier had come down, the lights were flashing, all that kind of stuff. And when I inquired of a policeman what was happening, he said, some Aussie millionaire is sailing in his yacht.
Right.
And it was Robert Stigwood, who had the biggest then private yacht in the world. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, big thing, absolutely. And he was an Australian, but he was based in Europe, and he brought his yacht from Monte Carlo to London because the Bee Gees were on tour here or something like that. You know, but it was quite amazing. At one stage, Sir Paul McCartney, as he is now, Paul McCartney then, feared that the Fab Four would be eclipsed by the Bee Gees, such was the energy of Robert Stigwood. Amazing.
Well, he started his own record label and everything, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah. And all their music was then put out on that. So I mean, that's why he didn't have to worry about anybody else. I mean, all he had to do was do the Bee Gees.
Sure. He made a mistake once of clashing with Sharon Osbourne's father. And Sharon Osbourne's father in those days was a guy called Don Arden.
Okay.
Who was
music business person.
Big music. Don Arden, who was the hard-nosed manager of a group of musicians in the 60s, including the Small Faces.
Right.
Robert Stigwood made a move on the Small Faces. Don Arden enlisted 4 thugs, took them round to Stigwood's central London office and ordered them to dangle him over the 4th floor balcony so he could see the pavement below.
Yeah.
When asked if he was making an approach to Small Faces, Stigwood denied it. He was allowed to be pulled back into the said office and never crossed Mr. Arden
Well, they
again.
didn't mess around in those days. Like Peter Grant, the guy that used to be the manager of Led Zeppelin, he used to carry a gun around. And when he went to various... when they used to do tours of North America, he would always insist on being paid in cash. And if they didn't have enough cash, he'd just pull a gun out, point it at the head of whoever happened to be supposedly paying them and say, well, you better go and get some.
One time when I read a story, right, so it might be apocryphal, I read a story that one time when Led Zeppelin were on tour in America... I didn't know it was Peter Grant, but their manager insisted on being paid in cash at every venue.
That's what I've just told you.
Yes, but hang on, I'm going to tell you a development to this. So that if they were at the, in Philadelphia at the local, ballpark or something like that, they wouldn't leave until they got all the cash.
Yeah.
And they used to put all this cash in what they called the coffin.
Yeah.
And this was a huge box.
Like a massive trunk.
It's a massive trunk, literally a massive trunk. And they had 2, sticks, which they pushed through this, and they had 4 people carrying it around. And they'd carry it on the plane, because they had their own plane.
Well, that's a very good way to do business,
They had their own plane, which was a propeller plane. And,
no, it was a jet plane.
I thought it had propellers.
No, it was a jet plane. Right. They were one of the first rock bands to have a proper plane. It was like a 737.
Was it? All right, something like that. Okay.
They had Led Zeppelin painted on the side. But our friend Mickey Brennan took a picture inside
that's right, yeah.
Remember I've shown you?
That's right, it was a jet plane.
You don't get foreign propeller planes in America.
No, you do, because I'm confusing it with U2. U2 went round America on a propeller plane, also Dakota. That was part of their, attraction and the appeal of it all.
Right.
But anyway, this coffin was carried, with the bearers carrying it all over the place. Yeah. Went on and off planes into, the Philadelphia ballpark, put the money in there. And then after about the 6th concert, somebody nicked it from the airport.
Right.
And they got away with about $2.5 million. They just took it.
Yeah.
It just
maybe they
disappeared.
arranged for somebody to nick it. You never know.
I've no
Peter
idea.
Grant was a colourful character.
Yeah, he certainly
but he
was.
certainly used to pull a gun on you if you didn't have enough money.
Yeah.
Now, would you like to know what the result of all these votes is?
Yes, please. Come on, let's get this sorted.
Are on tenterhooks.
Yeah, you're going to be shamefaced tonight, aren't you?
Not at all, no.
Right.
Now, the vote which ended at 2:30, so 20 minutes ago, was this. Is it time... it's time for the... sorry, no, that's not the right one. Should the vote for winners and losers be declared null and void this week?
Yes.
Vote here.
Yes.
The result of that is yes, 47%, no, 53%. So the idea is that this vote should not be declared null and void, so the vote should stand.
So the original vote stands?
So the original vote stands.
And the original vote was?
Now, the original vote is open until 3:30, so just under 40 minutes left to go.
Yes.
Currently 48% to me, 52% to you. So you've got 40 minutes now to vote on the original vote, basically.
What are you on about?
Well, this is what we've done always. Whenever
the original vote.
No, the original
was
vote
closed, and I won it.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
And you wanted it declared null and void.
No. The original vote would normally be closed at midnight, right?
Yes.
But it was 50-50. Now, the last time that happened, we kept it open until 3:30. And that's what we always do.
So this is your third bit of gerrymandering tonight.
No, it's not.
So now you've decided
because I haven't decided
I've
anything.
won the vote not to nullify the first vote. You're going to extend the first vote until it becomes.
You haven't won anything.
This is like, let's have a referendum. Oh, it didn't go our way. We'll have another referendum. It didn't go our way.
Well, you can
and
sit
we'll
there
keep
and
having referendums until they go our way.
As I said to you, there was a tweet that went out on the Two Mics account just after midnight that said the voting is extended till 3:30, which is what we always do.
Utterly pathetic, honestly. And what's the score in that one at the moment?
It's 52-48 to you.
Yeah, exactly. Of course it is. Well, we might as well just close it now.
Well,
we're
why
going to win that anyway.
Now? It's got 45 minutes left, according to the way it was set up.
And at 3:30, will you extend that then to 6:30?
No.
Will you? Yeah, just
that's when it's closed.
I don't know.
That's when it's closed.
This is pretty pathetic.
I don't think so. That's when it's closed.
Pathetic with a capital Perth. Okay.
Capital Perth.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now I want to talk to you about a very important issue.
Yeah, go on.
You may have had this problem in your life, okay, because you've had plenty of girlfriends, and I don't say that maliciously. It's just a fact of life.
I haven't had that many girlfriends.
Now, do you know that you can suffer from body dysmorphia disorder?
I thought you were going to tell me about this story about people who don't recognise other people's faces.
I am, but the two are connected.
Body dysmorphia.
Yeah. Now, body dysmorphia.
Well, I know
disorder.
there are people that suffer from it. Yeah, I'm not one of them.
Right. Now, here. What about this? And this is in one of my medical journals. Right. This person's got a problem.
Right.
It says, this is from a woman. Okay. I suffer from body dysmorphia disorder, otherwise known as BDD.
Right.
I'm highly critical of my appearance and judgmental of others too.
Yeah.
To me, people are either super attractive or very ugly. I have been with my boyfriend for 8 months, and I have... What are you laughing at?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I can just imagine you suffering from this now.
Well, hang on, mate. Yeah, exactly. Two of his... right. I've been 8 months, and I have major issues with 2 of his previous girlfriends because I think they were so ugly.
Oh.
I have no problem with the pretty ones. Before we got together, we had a friends with benefits relationship. That's new to me. I mean, that's kind of...
Friends with benefits?
Yeah, that's...
Have you seen that film?
No. You have sex with your friends.
Justin Timberlake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, you don't have sex with Justin Timberlake. He's in it.
Oh, he's in it, is it? Okay, yeah. All right, anyway, I don't want to get into that. During that time, I started
What's
to fall
wrong with
in...
that? Surely your new moral code would protect you from any kind of judgment on that.
That's not the issue. The issue here is deeper.
I just want to make sure we're being, consistent.
Yeah, okay. Now, during that time, I started to fall in love with him, right? When we had friends with benefits, right? I felt deeply offended that he would then have sex with 2 of the ugliest girls I have ever seen.
Yeah.
While I was friends with benefits, he had 2 other women on the go. But she says they were very, very ugly.
Yeah.
One was extremely goofy and skinny. Well, hang on. Yeah. The other was like a super chav and dressed very provocatively.
Right. Who's saying all this, by the way?
Well, this is from my medical journal. This is a woman who suffers from typical dysmorphia, body dysmorphia disorder, right?
But she thinks she looks okay, right?
No, she hates her own look. I'm highly critical of my own appearance.
I know certainly from experience, I would say that women do not like it if you have sex with another woman, obviously, period. But if you have sex with a woman who they consider to be less good looking, that's even worse.
Well, there you go. I despise everything about these other women. My boyfriend is wonderful and absolutely gorgeous looking, so why would he sink so low? I want to understand why I feel like this before I destroy a relationship by continually lashing out at him for having sex with these ugly women. But the answer to that from a doctor is that, actually, they're probably not ugly. They're just ugly in your eyes.
In your eyes, yeah.
Mm.
As indeed, she probably is not ugly, but she just thinks she is.
Because body dysmorphia disorder completely corrupts your view of yourself and other people.
Yeah.
When another person's
Do they have an
appearance-
explanation as to why people suffer from it?
Well, hang on. It's when another person's appearance becomes the focus of your negative attention, you're assessing their appearance in a similar way to how you regard your own face and body, and the usual checking, comparing and feeling of disgust goes on in your head. Then you say to yourself, if my boyfriend can like someone as unattractive as I think they are, maybe I'm unattractive as well. Maybe my boyfriend likes ugly women.
I mean, bottom line, it's a sort of psychological disorder, really, isn't it?
It is a psychological disorder. Anyway, what you should do is then you should go and seek cognitive behavioural therapy.
Yeah.
Or the British Association for Behavioural and Cognitive Psychotherapies can help you. So it's all in the mind.
Yeah.
It's all in the mind.
Well, a lot of these things are. You've got to feel sorry for people who see the world through those kind of tinted glasses,
Well, it must
which
be
are not
awful.
really not rose-tinted, but the complete opposite.
You know, you look in a mirror every morning.
But you suffer from it in a different way.
No, I
mean,
don't.
you look in a mirror
I don't
in the
think I'm
morning,
ugly.
and that's what I mean. You think you look like Brad Pitt, don't you?
No, I don't think I look like Brad Pitt.
You think you are God's gift to beauty.
No, I have always talked about having a lived-in face.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is what I think I have got. But I certainly
multiple dwellings.
Well, I don't think for a moment that I am Brad Pitt. But on the other hand,
but you do think that you're much more handsome than you would otherwise be perceived to be. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think
that's all about confidence.
I think that I've got a face full of character, an interesting face, and I am pretty certain, you know, without sounding boastful, that I still manage to turn women's heads in the street.
Really?
There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
Did you turn any women's heads this morning or this afternoon?
Maybe. I mean, I know that when I'm on a train or something like that, women do look at me. And when I walk down the street, I do see women who walk past, turn around and look at me again. I have no problem with that at all. And
women turn in the street to look at you?
Yes, they do, yeah. I have a very interesting face. I'm not saying that
What
I'm
sort of women?
particularly good. Quite attractive, sort of middle-aged women.
Middle-aged?
You know? Yeah.
What,
I'd
sort
say
of
so.
50s?
No, much younger
What
than
then?
that.
Well, so
Much
younger
than that.
women, much younger women than you. So women 20 years younger than you turn around in the street to look at you.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
You sure you're not imagining it?
No, I'm not. Honestly, I'm certain that happens. And
do you ever respond to these women looking at you?
Well, not really. I mean, you know, if I...
Do you never sort of try and catch their eye?
Well, if they're sort of giving me the eye, if you see what I mean, then
Right.
I think it's rude not to sort of pay them some attention, you know what I mean? But...
extraordinary life you live.
No.
Where does this happen then?
Well, you just got to be honest about it, really.
Well, where does
haven't
it
you?
happen?
What do you mean, where does it happen?
Where does it happen?
Well, it happens
Well, it
in
never
streets
happened. I mean,
that I walk in.
last week when we were working during the day and we
Yes.
would go maybe for a drink afterwards,
Yes.
I never noticed you getting the eye from anybody.
Well, that's because you and I were concentrating on talking to each other about the show we'd just done. Funny enough, I got stopped in Morrison's supermarket the day before yesterday. No, seriously.
Who'd buy?
Well, a chap who wanted to have his picture taken with me.
Right. Well, that's not the same as being stopped by a woman.
Unfortunately, it was in front of the baked beans and tomato soup shelves.
Right.
Yeah.
So where did you have the picture taken instead? In front of the champagne section?
No, I just stood there and he just took the picture, but I thought that's not the most exotic form of background,
What
is
were
it?
you doing in Morrison's anyway?
I was shopping. I go shopping.
What do you go shopping in Morrison's for?
Because I like the bread. I think they've got a fantastic bakery and they do all sorts of lovely bread.
Really?
So I buy it there, like croissants and things like that.
Oh, I
it's
see.
very good, honestly.
Is it?
It's very,
You'll
really
have
good.
to take me there sometime.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Now, I was going to tell you, wasn't I, about prosopagnosia.
You were, yeah. This is where you don't recognise people's faces.
I haven't got
Maybe that's
time.
what some of these women are suffering from.
So
Maybe they're looking at you thinking you're somebody else.
I'm going to have to tell you about that in a minute or
Yeah,
so, okay? Yeah.
Well, coming up in the next hour, we've got Ask Porky as well.
Yes, we certainly
we've
have.
got lots and lots of questions for you, some of which have arisen since the gerrymandering scenario.
Yeah.
We've got half an hour to go as well on the voting.
I was about to say, after the longest delay in history, we'll finally get a verdict on last night's vote on winners and losers, which, of course, I'm going to win.
Well, you probably will. I don't know why you're worried about it taking so long, because we've done this before. Whenever it's 50-50, we extend the voting into the period of 3:30.
We don't have a second vote to see whether we should cancel the vote if I win it.
Well, it's not very often.
An absolute damn disgrace.
Well, it's not very often you have some webcam girl trying to
disgrace.
gerrymander the voting by offering what can only be described as pleasures of the flesh.
That was nothing
for
to do
people
with me.
vote. Well, I'm beginning to wonder about that. It's very, very tricky.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes, and of course, as I said, there'll be a podcast coming out a little bit later on this morning. There's a lot of reaction to your conversation about women turning their heads to look at you.
Yes,
I have to
there
say.
is indeed, yeah.
People are quite, reacting to it in quite strong ways. Tom says, Porky, you don't turn women's heads, you turn their stomachs.
What?
Hashtag sex bomb.
Oh, that's very nice,
Thomas
isn't
says
it?
the Porkster suffers from shallow hell syndrome.
What is that?
Well, have you not seen Shallow Hell, the movie?
No.
Where, somebody is seen as very, very large and very, very fat.
No.
And, it's a question of people being shallow because they look at people in a different way depending on what their physical appearance is.
Why would that interest a guy like me?
Well, because, you're a follower of movies. Bill says, I saw you in Glasgow, Porky. Trust me, you've got a face like a... And then he describes a Scottish phrase, which I'm not going to read out.
I should hope not.
But it's more like the backside than the face, I'd have to say.
Yeah, that's harsh.
Ray says, Porky turns women's heads all right, but unfortunately in the opposite direction. Adrian says, women only look twice at Porky trying to work out who that 70s plonker is.
Oh, really? Yeah. And you got any complimentary ones?
No, I'm trying to find any.
Oh, I've got one here, look.
Go on.
It says, here we are. Bob says, excuse me, I cannot believe that old MG is denying Mike... Parry, that is, his victory.
How is that complimentary about your looks?
Hang on. It reminds me of yesterday's League Cup rules where MG was, of course, wrong.
How was I wrong?
Well, you were wrong. You got it all wrong.
No, I didn't get it wrong.
You did.
No.
You kept changing your mind about
No, I did not. What I said was nobody can explain.
When the away goals were double.
Nobody can explain how the away goals rule works, is what my point was. And nobody has yet been able to do so, including you.
Another one here from Phil. It says, it's the first time I've ever heard of old MG being slightly naive. Porky has a point. Watch Kill the Messenger. It's a true story. See, I'm getting all the...
Yeah.
What I'm getting is I'm getting the intellectual positives out of the audience tonight.
Is that right?
And you're getting the negatives,
Well, here's
man.
what Julian says. Off to Newcastle delivering poultry, he says. Not coals to Newcastle, then.
Yes.
He says, the story about BDD was a letter to an agony aunt in a U magazine from the Mail on Sunday last week.
Yes, was it? Well,
funny medical journal, Porky.
Well, in that case, I can tell you they picked up on it from somewhere or somebody's related it to it because I got it on one of my medical journals.
Okay.
That's all I can tell you.
And here's one from Graham in Bath. He says,
Yes.
great to have both of you back on nights. Daytime's radio loss is our gain. And I'd like to start a campaign to get Porky recognised as a national treasure.
Oh, really?
And you should both be rewarded in the honours list soon.
Well, thank you very much.
Would you accept an honour from the Queen?
Oh, yes.
Would you?
Oh, that shadow of a doubt.
You have no issue with that?
No, not
Even though
whatsoever.
one of your heroes took his back?
Who, John Lennon?
Yeah.
He had it returned as a protest to the Vietnam War.
Well, he had it returned because he didn't believe in the whole meaning of monarchy and all of that, did he?
No, it was a protest against the Vietnam War, but it was rather odd because the Prime Minister who awarded the Beatles their MBEs, I think it was MBEs, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was, yeah. Harold Wilson it will actually go down in history as a very brave Prime Minister in the face of American pressure because he was asked by Lyndon Baines Johnson.
It would have been Wilson, wouldn't it?
Harold Wilson, yeah. He would have been he was asked by Lyndon Baines Johnson to commit troops to Vietnam, and Harold Wilson, who was a Labour Prime Minister, stood up, and we had one of the biggest armies in the world at the time because it was only 20 years after the end of the Second World War. He said, "No, I'm not committing British troops to a confrontation in the Far East, of which we have no, interest, order, or influence.
Yeah.
Forget it." And that was the last time a British Prime Minister stood up to an American president.
Yeah, right. But in any event, you wouldn't follow in his footsteps and return
definitely not.
Or turn down any sort of honour.
No, I would greet it. Mark, who lives in Texas, right, he says, "Hi guys, I'm a Geordie boy living in Dallas. I creased up laughing listening to you fellas talk about Texas. You are absolutely right. It's so true the way you described it."
Yeah.
That's nice, isn't
exactly
it?
True, yeah.
Yeah.
Here's one from Arthur who says, Porky getting a double take for his looks when he's actually getting looked at for his impressive girth.
Impressive girth?
Yes.
I think not.
I think so.
Right, now then, I was going to tell you, wasn't I, about this condition, prosopagnosia.
Yeah.
Now, do you know what that is?
Well, yeah, it's when you can't recognise somebody's face.
Exactly, that's right. And 1 million people suffer from it.
A million people in this country?
Yeah.
Really?
It could be your boss, it could be your husband or wife, it could be your friend.
Yeah.
You could just stare at somebody and have no idea. Right, imagine waking up in the morning and not recognising your partner or children, right?
Yeah.
That's the reality faced by 1 million people in the UK who have prosopagnosia, which is otherwise known as face blindness.
Yeah.
1 in 50 people struggle to recognise faces to the point it affects their lives.
Shocking.
Brad Pitt suffers from it.
Does he?
Yeah.
Well, he looks in the mirror and thinks he's you.
No. Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak and a few others.
Really?
There's an expert here from Bournemouth University.
Brad Pitt wakes up in the morning and doesn't recognise Angelina Jolie? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, that's what they're suggesting.
That's rubbish.
Well,
what a load of old cobblers.
Early findings suggest the condition certainly does seem to run in some families,
right.
but some individuals suffer despite no apparent familial connection.
Huh.
Very little is understood about prosopagnosia, and there is no cure for it. But there are techniques being investigated to try and help you out.
Really?
Yeah,
it sounds very weird.
Inhaling the hormone oxytocin can enhance social functioning and increase recognition for a couple of hours, but then you become face blind again.
Right.
It's amazing. Isn't that amazing?
I
That
don't
must
think
be
it's
very
that amazing.
frightening.
No, I think it's ridiculous. I don't believe that. Why don't we talk about something which is truly amazing, right?
Right, go on.
And this is this guy who I've discovered wants to swim across the Atlantic for the first time ever.
Atlantic. Sorry, I thought you were talking about rowing across the Atlantic.
Well, no, he's going to swim across the Atlantic.
Well, that's mad.
Well, that does seem mad. Do you know how far it is? 1,763 miles.
What, across the Atlantic?
Yes.
I thought it was near 3,000 miles.
Well, yeah, but he's going from the closest point in Africa to the closest point in Brazil. So, I mean, you know, it's not... he's
so
not flying.
it's the South Atlantic
Well, no, he's going across the Atlantic.
Yeah, but we regard the Atlantic as jumping into the River Mersey off the pier head, swimming down the Mersey, out into the Irish Sea, turn left, go down under Ireland, right?
Yeah.
And then swim across the Atlantic to New York. That's what
we
regard
the
as
South Atlantic is below the equator, basically.
Yes.
So, I mean, he's actually starting the North Atlantic in Dakar, which is in Senegal,
Yeah.
and then he's going to swim across the Natal in Brazil. So he's going to swim down a little bit, sort of along the coast of Africa, and then he's going to make a right and swim all the way across to Brazil.
I've been to Senegal.
Feat. Yeah, I know you've been to Senegal.
I landed
this
in
is not
Senegal
about whether
once.
you've been to Senegal. It's about this guy. Do you not want to know about him?
Yes, I do, yeah.
His name is Ben Hooper.
Okay.
Right? And he's going to be doing it the next few weeks. And I watched a programme about him last night. And he's been training in a variety of places, warm water training in Florida.
Right.
But at the moment he's training in a swimming pool in Cheltenham.
In Cheltenham, that sounds...
Which doesn't seem like great preparation.
I was going to say, sounds just like the Atlantic. You know, you can imagine the 40-foot waves he's going to counter in the Atlantic can be simulated in a swimming pool in Cheltenham.
Right.
I think it's all a con trick.
Why?
Because this guy will swim with about 6 boats, which will be sport boats, right?
They will be, yeah.
And at the end of swimming for 8 hours every day, he'll get out and get onto the boat.
If he wants to have a rest, he will get out and get onto the boat, yeah.
Well, that's ludicrous.
Why?
I mean, well, it's just endurance swimming. He's not actually swimming across the Atlantic.
Of course he is.
No, he's not.
What do you expect him to do? Tread water and sleep at the
yes,
same time?
Yes, I do. If you're saying when people swim across the English Channel, they swim across the English Channel.
Well, that's not very far.
And they don't get out halfway across.
Well, the closest point, the English Channel, is only about 13 miles or
18.
something, isn't it?
It's 18 miles. 18 miles,
right.
I think, is the...
Well, this guy's swimming 1,700 miles.
Well, it's ludicrous, but he's not. What he's doing is he might as well get into the River Dee in Chester, where I came from, and swim 8 miles up it one day, get into a boat, get out the next morning and swim back the other 8 miles the next day. He's actually just swimming each day for 8 hours.
But it's quite an achievement, right?
No,
because
it's
one
not.
of the things
It's
that
rubbish.
they've said...
It's absolute rubbish. The guy's a waste of time and waste of space.
That's terrible. He's a former policeman as well.
Yeah, well, he's an idiot.
A bit of respect for him.
He's an idiot. It just proves how lacking in intelligence the police force that he joined must be to take him. If he's daft enough then to...
You're unbelievable.
No, I'm not.
Not that you would in any way be a judgmental person.
No.
As you said at the top of this show.
I'm telling you.
You don't care what people do.
I'm telling you.
You're willing to let them do whatever they want.
I wouldn't give him one line of publicity if I was a newspaper editor because it's just a con trick. He's not actually going to swim the Atlantic.
Of course he is.
He's going to swim for 8 hours a day, jumping in and off a boat that happens to be travelling across the Atlantic. It's as simple as that.
No, he's not travelling by boat, though. The boat will be stationary. He will swim the entire way.
Well, the boat will be moving alongside him.
No. But what I'm saying is when he's resting, the boat will not be moving. So he will get back in the water at the same point where he came out.
Ludicrous.
So he's not in any way jumping the gun.
It's absolutely ludicrous.
8 or 9 hours a day.
He's not in danger. He's not going to starve. He's not going to drown. It's ridiculous. I mean, at least when old Shackleton went, trekking across the Antarctica, at least he did that in conditions that could have killed him. This guy can't possibly die. It's not any sort of a challenge.
He's got to swim around great white sharks, Portuguese men of war, tiger sharks, and oceanic white-tip sharks.
There won't be guys on the 6 boats accompanying him with spear guns and bullets and rifles. Of course there will. It's a ludicrous challenge, and it's a nonsensical one, and I think it's pathetic.
This is from a man who wouldn't jump off Bournemouth Pier. This is Talk Sport.
Colin Murray, weekday mornings from 10 on TalkSport with Wix. Every weekday morning, get opinionated comment.
So excited, only 3 Leeds United managers until Christmas.
Exclusive interviews.
Jimmy Carragher.
Well, I had him by the throat, never mind shouting at him.
And unmissable debate.
You've backed yourself into a wall now, Cole, if you don't mind me saying so.
From the biggest names in sports broadcasting every day.
As always, you take this show on to a new level.
There ain't no listeners like the TalkSport listeners.
Colin Murray, weekday mornings from 10 on TalkSport with Wix. Let's do it right.
It's our biggest ever jackpot on Lotto this Wednesday. A whopping £50 million. Imagine if Lawrence Llewellyn-Bowen won it.
And on your left we have Stonehenge with its Baroque facade. And is that a chandelier?
Anyone can win with Lotto. Please, don't let it be him. Play makes it possible.
Estimated jackpot subject to capping. Games rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
Inner peace.
What are you up to there, Paul?
Huh? Isn't it obvious? I'm trying to harness my inner peace before attempting the most non-awesome task a Kung Fu Panda has ever had to face. Switching broadband.
You know, you don't need to levitate over the Lake of Tranquility to take the stress out of switching.
Wait, I don't?
Paul, the dedicated Sky Switch Squad takes the pandemonium out of switching broadband, so you can just relax.
Awesome.
Sky. Believe in better. New Sky Broadband and Talk customers only. Sky Network areas. Check your speed at sky.com. Further terms apply.
He's got the numbers on the players, the triumphs and defeats. Got the form on the football weekend and the rumors on the streets. Get all the stats and all the facts with his football form report. Stay on the ball on Friday night with Sky Bet and TalkSport.
Get unmissable analysis and expert soccer speculation on all the weekend's big games. Stay on the ball on Kickoff the Players Lounge on TalkSport with Sky Bet. On a mission to make betting better. Visit skybet.com today or download the app.
Don't phone your mother. Phone TalkSport.
Football on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Athletico Radio.
The two mics. Astonishing reaction to some of the things you've been saying this morning.
Yeah.
And, of course, I've been reading a bit more into Ben Hooper's plan to swim across the Atlantic.
Yeah,
and it says the biggest challenge for him of all is monumental boredom.
Yes.
Hooper says that his mind can play various tricks when he's on a long swim. Unexpected odours, steak frying, for example.
Yeah.
Or he hears voices from the people from his past.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm not sure how I'm going to stop myself from going insane.
Yeah, well,
the idea that you're saying he's not doing anything worthwhile.
He's not.
Is extraordinary.
He's not doing anything worthwhile. He should get himself a proper job or something, or do something
or cure
sensible.
cancer, maybe.
Yes, that's right.
That's what Big Al says. That guy should be trying to find a cure for cancer instead of swimming the Atlantic.
Of course he should.
But,
yeah.
I mean, you know, when you look at the number of people who have done various things in this world, right, nobody has ever swum the Atlantic like this, okay? Loads of people have,
do you know why?
climbed Everest.
Because
it's
a pointless, worthless exercise.
4,100 people have climbed Everest, 1,340 have swum the Channel, and 12 men have walked on the moon. But no one has swum the full distance of the Atlantic.
Because it's not worth doing, because it's not a recognised physical feat
I don't agree with you.
that can be achieved.
I don't agree with
you can't do it without all sorts of support boats and things. Therefore, to me, it doesn't rate. I knew a guy once who rowed across the Atlantic, single-handedly.
Yeah.
His name
Didn't you tell me a story about some guy you were at school with who was a big swimmer?
Yeah, well, no, we did him on this show. I wasn't at school with him. I worked with him in Fleet Street.
Right.
He worked on Capital
That's
Radio.
right, yeah.
He was one of the first
But he was a
reporters.
swimmer, right?
He was
a channel swimmer.
He holds the world record for the number of times he swum the Channel.
Right.
He used to.
Why didn't he ever swim the Atlantic?
Because he wouldn't have regarded that as a real challenge.
Well, if he'd done it, you would have been
he
so happy
didn't swim
about
with
that.
support boats or anything. I've got to try and remember his name now. He didn't. He just went down to the beach, smeared himself in like axle grease and all that, got in the water and swam. He was so used to doing it, he used to do it for a weekend. Where you and I would literally go for a couple of beers on a Saturday lunchtime. Yeah. He'd say, I'm just nipping over to France. But what he meant was he's putting his shorts on or his trunks and he was going to swim there.
Go for a swim.
He could do it.
Well, Kate thinks it's quite dangerous. She says, swim the South Atlantic, Africa to Brazil. I'll give him 1.5 hours before he's eaten. He's bonkers.
No, he's not, because he'd have all sorts of people around him. Now, this guy I knew who rowed the Atlantic, right? And what he did is he took off from Newfoundland and he was due to row to Cornwall. But what happened was he got caught in some tide or some wind or something and he blew south and landed in, eventually, when we found him, he's in Lisbon.
Right.
But we didn't know he's
But
landed...
he wasn't a mate of yours, though. You covered that story, didn't you?
I did, yeah. His name was Tom McLean,
Yeah.
and he was a former SAS soldier.
Right.
And he was as hard as granite. I mean, literally as hard as granite. You know, after about the third week, because it took him about, 3 months to do it or something, he had to climb up his mast. Although it was a rowing boat, it was a big rowing boat.
Yeah, well, they have those rowing boats that are kind of more or less covered rowing boats,
Yeah,
aren't
exactly. That's exactly. It's like almost like a sort of ark, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And
well, you have to protect yourself from the elements. I mean, you would have turned around to him and said, "That's not a challenge. You should have been in a proper rowing boat like the kind you get in the Serpentine in Regent's Park."
And you have to be able to carry enough fresh water and food and all that kind of stuff.
Well, would you say that that's not a challenge?
Oh, it's a huge challenge. He did it on his own. There was no support craft or anything. He just set up.
Yeah, but he also did it with a lot of water. Maybe you should have said, well, if you're going to do it, you shouldn't do it with water.
Well, don't be ridiculous. He'd die of thirst, wouldn't he?
Well, exactly.
Yeah, well, you can't do that.
Well, exactly. And that's why this guy can't swim the Atlantic on his own without help.
Of course, it's an impossible task, and that's why I'm saying
Well,
he's gerrymandering it.
That's why it's
to
worthy,
a ridiculous degree.
It's worthy of giving him some of salute. Patrick says, ha ha ha. He says, it's not a challenge because the dude can't die.
Yeah, that's right.
Hilarious radio.
No, I think that is one. If you fly an airplane around the world.
Yeah.
Like that woman who disappeared did. What was her name? Amy somebody, wasn't it? And she just...
Amy?
Yeah, she crashed somewhere on the approach to Australia. Nobody's ever found
You
the
mean
plane.
Amelia Earhart?
Amelia Earhart, that's her, yeah. And she just disappeared.
Right.
Because she was trying to fly around the world single-handed. Now, did I read that actually Countdown Lady, Brainy... what's her name? The brain box of Britain.
What, Des Kelly's ex-wife?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, what's her name?
Carol Vorderman.
Carol Vorderman, I think she's trying to replicate the route and do it.
Is she?
So, I quite admire that. She's going to go and fly off on her own and do it. That's what I call a real challenge.
I don't think she's going to have any support at either side of where she's flying.
No, she won't. She won't be flying with other aircraft.
Really?
She's going to go off and try and do it herself, which I think is brilliant.
Right.
But this guy with, all the support craft...
I think you're being very unfair.
It's absolutely...
Stuart says this.
He gets fed every day. It's not like... Right,
He's still swimming the bloody Atlantic.
Do you know what I'd regard as a real challenge?
Go on.
He jumps in the Atlantic, he starts swimming.
Yeah.
After 6 hours,
Right.
he feels a bit hungry.
Yeah.
So he has to then try and seize a passing pike and break its neck. And
That'd
eat
be
it.
unusual because a pike doesn't swim in the sea.
You know what I'm talking about. And eat it raw.
It's a freshwater fish.
And eat... Well, all right, whatever's passing, some kind of fish.
A shark.
No, you couldn't wrestle a shark to death, could you, while you were swimming? That'd be smaller.
Well, I don't think you could wrestle anything to death while you were swimming.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying, so when he's done 6 hours and he feels a bit peckish, he just shouts up to the boat that's chugging along beside him, "Hey, Harry, get us a corned beef sandwich, mate, will you? I'm coming aboard."
Well, it's after 8 hours of swimming in Atlantic. I'd like to see you swimming.
Well,
I've never seen you swimming, actually. I don't think you can swim.
I can swim.
How come you were not part of the swimming team at Chester School, then? King's School, Chester. You were part of every other team.
Well, I was.
You never boast about being in the swimming team.
I was too busy doing other things.
No, I don't believe you.
I passed my swimming exam, whatever it was called, the RSA,
The swimming
Royal
exam.
Life Saving Society. No, I did. Yeah,
swimming exam.
What you had to do is
you had to swim in pyjamas, didn't you?
No, yeah, but that was great because I got my mum to get me a special pair of pyjamas that took in.
Did she boil them first?
No, she didn't boil them, but she sort of put. I got her to put some plastic bags inside them so that seriously, so that when I jumped in.
No.
I did.
You did not. Well, you even cheated on your swimming.
I did. Honestly, I did. I was determined.
That's horrendous.
And so when
did they not spot the fact that you were floating rather than swimming?
Well, everybody was because you're supposed to get air in the pyjamas, supposed to stay in.
Yeah.
Mine stayed in longer, and also. It
doesn't make you swim any quicker, though, does it? It doesn't make you swim any quicker.
It's not supposed to make you swim. It's supposed to stop you drowning.
Right.
You put the air in the pyjamas to make it a lifeboat, life belt.
Yeah, but the pyjamas were for swimming, so that you could swim with wearing clothes, effectively.
No. You had to save yourself from drowning with your pyjamas.
No, but you had to swim in the pyjamas as well.
I don't think I didn't remember that. But I do remember. You see, I had a huge handicap in the swimming department. I can't open my eyes underwater, so I can't see underwater.
You can't see underwater?
No, I can't. I can't open my eyes.
Well, nobody can see underwater.
No, you can. A lot of people I know open their eyes underwater.
Yeah, but it depends on what's in the water. If it's chlorine, it's very difficult to keep them open. If it's salt water, that can be quite difficult as well.
No.
That's why you have a mask.
What I mean is, you've seen the film, what's that film that Mel Gibson's
Waterworld.
in? No.
Mad Max.
Yeah, Mad Max, and they chuck him in the river.
I don't remember that well.
In a straitjacket, okay.
In a straitjacket?
Yeah, and he sinks to the bottom.
Yeah.
But he suddenly finds...
You're not thinking of Lethal Weapon, are you?
I think I am, yeah.
Mad Max is a completely different film.
Yeah, but I meant
Lethal Weapon, he plays a detective in Los Angeles.
Exactly. I meant the actor in Mad Max.
Yeah.
And remember, he lands on the bottom of the river.
Yeah. It's a swimming pool, I think.
No, it's not to a river. It's a river. They throw him off the pier. Why would they throw him in a swimming pool?
Well, because they think he's going to drown because he's got a straitjacket on.
Yeah, I know.
But one of the reasons he gets out of it is he can dislocate his shoulder.
Yeah, I know.
And that's how he gets out.
I know, you idiot. But if he didn't get out, then when the people came in the next morning to jump in the swimming pool, they'd find dead bodies in there, wouldn't they?
Well, they didn't
because what I said was, as he hit the deck, as he hit the bottom of the river, Patsy Kensit was dead in a bag next to him.
Yeah,
wasn't she?
Yeah, I think that was why it was in the swimming pool.
Yeah, but his eyes were open all the time.
Yeah.
And hers would have been, except she was dead. So that's why her eyes were closed. Well, what I'm saying,
it's a film.
I know, but I mean,
it's not real life.
No, but they've replicated real life to make out that he could open his eyes all the time he was in the water.
No. Stuart says this swimmer should just
I could never find a brick. You know when they have to throw a brick in, you have to recover the brick. I could never find it because I couldn't open my eyes.
Oh, right. Well, maybe you should have just got a brick attached to you and thrown that in, and you could have found it again.
Yes, thank
because
you.
Because you cheated at everything else. This swimmer should just bottle out of it and give a few quid to a swimming charity, I suppose. Would he then get Porky's respect, says Stuart?
No, he wouldn't get my respect for anything. It's just not a challenge. It's ludicrous.
I think it's brilliant.
He might as well, honestly...
I think we should talk to him before he goes.
He might as well be swimming in a pool on board a ship. I mean, if he's training in a swimming pool in Cheltenham, just in the Atlantic, then the best he should do is get a paddle ferry with a swimming pool on board and just swim up and down 8 hours a day. That's exactly the same. That would be exactly the same.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's not.
How about this from Becky, who says, like his GCSE certificates, ask Porky to produce his 25-yard breaststroke certificate.
Yeah, well, I could.
Could you do that? Have you still got it?
I think I majored in the crawl.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. You carried on with that later in your career.
No.
Mostly up and down to the editor's office.
No, you idiot.
The crawl.
No, you idiot. Here, it says here, swimming the Atlantic isn't possible. A person would freeze to death way before they'd ever get hungry.
Not true. Because he's swimming from a part of the African coast where the water is relatively warm.
Yeah, but the South Atlantic is the coldest seas in the world.
Yeah, it is once you get away from the equator. But you have to understand the South Atlantic and the North Atlantic get warmer as they get towards the equator. Do you not understand that?
Yeah, okay, but talk to...
I mean, your planky type followers have no idea, do they?
Oh, you have to insult my followers on every turn, don't you?
The surface sea temperature at the equator is 30 to 32 degrees centigrade.
Right.
Is that warm? Of course it's warm.
Is it?
30 degrees centigrade.
Centigrade. Well, boiling temperature of centigrade is 100. So it's only 1/3 warm.
Well, it's not going to be boiling. Well, if you're walking around in the streets of London and it says it's 30 degrees, that's in the middle of summer. That's pretty hot.
Yes, I would accept that.
Double it and add 27.
Yes, okay.
Right, get Fahrenheit if you need to go old money.
Okay. Right, it says here, Porky, you're spot on about the swimmer.
Who says that?
Well, Mark, but then he says a bit like Cantona for Stella Artois. Is that the advert where, we're all farmers and we're famous and all that?
Farmers,
I see.
Something like
okay,
that. Anyway, coming up is going to be Ask Porky. But before that, we will declare the vote, which will close in 4 minutes' time. This is TalkSport.
On DAB, digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The pressure's on now.
Relieve the itch.
On a Tuesday going into Wednesday, which is Ask Porky, of course.
Yes.
We've had an awful lot of very, very good questions coming in over the course of the last 24 hours or so. And what I can tell you is that they range in an incredible way, all the way from questions about football to questions about personal choices, questions about finance and everything else. But before we start, I suppose what I ought to do is make a declaration about the state of the winners and losers scenario.
Yes, please. Let's have that.
I'm sure you would like to have. Now, the final results are in. 1,998 votes were cast, which is, I think, probably a record number. I don't think we've ever had quite as many as that, but it was extended from midnight to 3:30.
Yes.
Closed just a couple of minutes ago. And the final tally, notwithstanding the interference of Harriet Sugar coating, whatever her name was.
And your attempt to gerrymander the whole thing.
No. I just wanted it done fair and square.
Yes,
we did have another vote earlier whether this should be declared null and void. Which,
and the result was?
Which the people said no, we should keep the vote going. So it was not declared null and void. So the winner is Mike Parry with 52%.
Yes!
And I came second. I came second. Excuse me, I haven't finished with the
you
announcement
came second out of two.
I came second with 48%. So
a very hearty, a mile behind.
A very hearty congratulations.
A mile
to you.
behind. Thank you very much indeed.
And because this is a new season, of course, it means that you are 1-0 up. in the current winners and losers tally. Okay?
Indeed.
Happy with that?
I am, because I won 2 votes tonight, didn't I?
Well, no, you just won 1.
No, I won that vote, but then I won the vote that you attempted to launch to try and stop me winning the first vote.
Right, would you mind not banging the desk, please? It's very annoying.
Well, it's a football chant. Can't you hear it? You know.
No, but it's very annoying. It's particularly annoying. Hang on. That's particularly annoying for people listening on digital radio.
Yes.
So would you mind not doing it?
It may well be, but I mean, my exuberance is because I overcame not only... I succeeded not only in the skill of producing betters, winners and losers, but I overcame...
Betters, winners and losers?
Yeah,
You're now speaking in some kind of broken English.
I overcame your disgusting and despicable attempt to try and have it called off and gerrymander it. You are a creep of the first order.
Yeah, well, I think we all know which creep is more likely to be on in this particular programme. Now, here's one for the start-off. This is from Dean, who's written this one in on the Facebook page, right? Which, if you haven't found it yet, go to Facebook and look for the 2 mics. Okay. Porky is a massive fan of the FA Cup third round day. Given the option, would you indulge in the live matches shown on TV, as you don't have the time to attend matches these days, or go on a massive Rogerisation marathon with a married secretary of your choice?
Oh, no, I'd want to watch all the FA Cup games. I'm a real romantic for the FA Cup. I love the FA Cup. I'm glad that there's, I think it's 4, isn't it, or 5 games which are live on the television this weekend. Ideally,
well, we've got a load of live games on TalkSport as well.
Of course we have. Ideally, I'd love to go to Goodison Park and watch Everton play Dagon Red, the third bottom team in the Football League, but I can't get up there this weekend. I will enjoy being both an audio fan of the FA Cup, listen to the commentaries on TalkSport, and an armchair fan.
Here's one from Mark, who says, Porky, do you have any grooming tips and advice on how to stay so good-looking and in shape in your later middle age like you are?
Well, I believe that beauty comes from within. If you feel good about yourself, you will look good to others, and that's why women do turn, and I do turn heads amongst women, because I have an air of total confidence, of self-belief, of a man who's completely in control of himself, of a lived-in face which could tell 1,000 stories. This is what fascinates women, and if you feel good about yourself, they will feel good about you.
OK, here's one from Jay, who says, should Phil the Power Thompson retire after a glorious career as 16-time World Darts and European Cup winning captain?
Well, look, we're mixing a couple of professions here. If we're talking about Phil the Power Taylor, then I wonder whether it is time for him to retire. He said when he went to this year's competition he had personal problems, and I think at his age it'll be incredibly hard to come back from those and reassert himself. As for Phil Thompson, who lifted the European Cup, amongst other things he did in his glorious career, well, he retired a long time ago. He's now a football pundit, but he hasn't been in that profession as long as we have been in ours. So he's got to keep, practising.
He's got a long way to go. Stephen says this on Twitter. If you could have been present and reported on any historical event, what would it have been and why?
It would have been the bravery of the Spitfire pilots in the Battle of Britain. Some of them were as young as 17, took 6 weeks training, then got into a Spitfire and went and fought the German Messerschmitt. If I could have told that story from those boys' perspective, from sitting in the cockpit of a Spitfire heading towards a group of German bombers protected by German fighters, that would have been the ultimate story.
Yeah, true. Now, here's another one from Stephen, a different Stephen. I've nearly paid off the debt on my car. Should I get a new one to be flash and impress all my friends, or stay debt-free?
No, you should get a new car, not to be flash and impress all your friends, but to show people that you are a mover and shaker, that you're one of life's winners. Life's winners don't drive around in broken down old heaps. They don't drive around in cars that have dents in the bonnet that need new lights continually being fitted into them, and gearboxes that blow up on Dartmoor, or even in the New Forest. So what I would say is...
Dartmoor?
What I would say is stretch yourself, pal, and get yourself a new car. It'll make the world look upon you as a winner.
There's one from Kevin on Facebook. How many journals does Porky get through in a week, and where does he acquire such items?
Well, I acquire them because I am a reading aficionado. I subscribe to many journals and magazines in the world. Some of them come from America, some of them come from medical sources, some of them come from planning sources, some of them come from military sources, and I bring them all together to digest into a potpourri of information which I try to pass on a regular basis to our millions of listeners.
Yes, indeed. Here's one from Kelly, who says, a topical question, should a winter break be introduced to football in England?
No, not under any circumstances. We've had the mildest winter ever, we're having one at the moment. What would be the point of a winter break? If suddenly the end of February, we get a very, very cold snap and games have to be called off all over the place. You've got no time then to make up the log of abandoned games.
Graham in Bath sent this one in on a text, 81089. He says, I've been left a sum of money in my mother's will and wanted Porky's advice on where to invest it.
Yeah.
I would appreciate any advice.
Well, there's no good putting it in a bank or building society these days because interest rates are so poor, you get no return on it, so you've got to speculate to accumulate. Now, property has been a big, big favourite amongst people over the last sort of 5, 6, 7, 8 years while interest rates have been at rock bottom. However, the Chancellor, George Osborne, has now decided with 2 moves, that's one on tax relief and the second one on launching massive amounts of extra stamp duty onto the purchase of buy-to-let flats. He's made that now a less attractive proposition. I think it's a disgusting disgrace that an entrepreneurial outfit, supposedly is what the Tories are, can do that sort of thing. So the answer is you are now a bit knackered. You've got to speculate in something else. I suggest at the moment, because of the way the world is going in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia and Iran at each other's throats, you invest in gold.
Gold?
Gold.
OK. Here's one from Lee on Facebook. He says, listen to the podcast every day, love the show. I'm attending my work's Christmas do on the 17th, which I presume must have been put off from last year. Yeah. And he says, I'm useless at talking to girls. Could Mr. Parry give me some tips?
Yes. Bladderation leads to confidence, which could lead to Rogerisation. That's always been my formula.
That's how it started with you, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. That's always been my, a rum and blackcurrant gave me, large ones.
Rum and blackcurrant.
Large rum and blackcurrant.
Sure, it was a Pernod and blackcurrant.
No, large rum and blackcurrants gave me confidence to approach the fairer sex and dazzle them with my wit and intelligence, which often led to Rogerisation. That is the plot.
OK. Now, this one doesn't have a name on it, unfortunately, but how about this as an interesting philosophical question?
Yes.
How can a boat stay stationary mid-ocean?
By dropping anchor.
Very good idea.
By dropping anchor.
What, in the middle of the ocean?
Yes.
What, in the middle of the Atlantic?
Yes.
Well, how do you know how deep it is?
No, it doesn't hit the...
Thousands of feet.
It doesn't hit the bottom of the sea. Or what an anchor does in ocean-going boats, and what an anchor does is the anchor sends out vibrations to keep the boat absolutely where it is. That's what a modern-day anchor's all about.
What, you mean the anchor doesn't actually lodge itself in the seabed?
No, not at all. You couldn't carry enough chain on the boat for it to go down like nearly a mile in the middle of the Atlantic.
Oh, OK.
Yeah.
How about this one from Becky? Mike, I'm really interested in the non-alcoholic wine you talked about this week. What is the best way to grow non-alcoholic grapes?
The best way to grow non-alcoholic grapes is to actually turn to dandelions because they haven't got any alcohol in them. What a stupid question.
Dandelions haven't got any alcohol in them?
No.
Well, neither have grapes.
Of course grapes have if you ferment them.
Well, you think grapes are alcoholic?
Of course I do.
What, so when you eat grapes, there's alcohol in them?
Of course there is.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely certain. You know what happens if a cow wanders into a vineyard and eats a load of grapes?
No, tell me.
It gets intoxicated to the degree where it might get colic and has to be put down.
You're thinking of pigs and apples, aren't
you?
No,
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Here's one from Tom. My girlfriend is expecting our first child in June, but I've got tickets to the Euros. What should I do?
Well, I want to congratulate you on becoming a parent for the first time, and that takes precedence by a mile over any football match. You must stay with your girlfriend and you must look after the needs of your family. Football is a secondary issue.
Blimey. How about this one from Duck, who says this? It's another quandary for you sporting-wise. He says, I want to ask the man of the people this. Would you have England win the Euros this summer or Everton win the League Cup?
I would have... Ooh, tough one, that. I would have to...
Both pretty unlikely, I suppose, aren't they?
No. As I think Everton are closer to winning the League Cup than England to winning the Euros, I would have to plumb, obviously, for Everton.
Right, OK. Chris says, Porky, are you ever wrong? And if so, would you admit it?
I thought I was wrong just a couple of weeks ago and then found out I was right. So even when I think I'm wrong, sometimes I'm right. The issue is I do sometimes get things slightly inaccurate, but I correct them very, very rapidly.
Now, here's one from Tony, final one, because we're running out of time, sadly.
Yes.
He says, your mate waffles on about the away goals rule and confuses the nation.
Yes.
How do you stop him embarrassing himself?
Well, it's not easy.
It's a pointed question.
It's not easy. When you get a guy who thinks that he's the brain of Britain, and had this brilliant sort of Scots-based education and a father who was a genius and all. Yeah, I'm talking about you.
That was my education Scots-based. I went to school in London.
Yeah, I know, but you told us that, your father was always going on about Rabbi Burns and all that kind of stuff,
Well, he wasn't always going on about about Remy Burns.
So what you told me was. So what I'd say is that he's deluded, but I've had to put up with the delusion for 30 years, and I just treat it now like water off a duck's back.
Right, OK. Water off a duck's back, indeed. That was Ask Porky. We'll have another one same time next week. Remember, if you don't follow us on Twitter, you should. That's at the two Mikes. You can follow Mike Parry at Mike Parry8 or me at IROMG. And, of course, you should find us on Facebook as well, where you can find the two Mikes page full of information, full of pictures, and full of all sorts of bladderisation techniques. This is TalkSport.
What makes a great January sale?
50% off?
You can do better than that.
70% off?
Come on, push the boat out.
100% off?
Bingo! It's TalkTalk's 100% off fibre broadband sale, which means exactly what it says. Get totally unlimited TalkTalk fibre broadband, 5 times the speed of normal broadband, free for 12 months. All you pay is $17.70 line rental. And you'll get our new Super Router. The offer's available to new and existing customers. So visit talktalk.co.uk now. 18-month contract and conditions apply. Price after promo, £10.
Oh, come on. Start. No, I'm freezing. Come on. Please, start. Oh, please, not today. Please. Start! Oh, come on! Oops. Brilliant.
January needs more good stuff. So Asda's got loads of deals, like their grocery home delivery service from £1, just to help make January that little bit better. Asda. Save money, live better.
Conditions apply. Online minimum spend and delivery charge applies. Selected store subject to availability.
Enjoy our best ever prices on our Christmas special sofas in the best ever DFS winter sale. But hurry, Christmas specials end today. DFS.
If you fancy a flutter on the football, a gamble on the golf, a double on the darts, or a treble on the tennis, you're in luck. Get closer to the action every weekend with Betway's Man in the Know on the Weekend Sports Breakfast with Georgie Bingham and Mickey Quinn. Bringing you all the form on the football, the going at Goodwood, the tries at Twickenham and the overs at the Oval. Every Saturday and Sunday morning from 7 on TalkSport. With Betway. For the latest offers, head to betway.com.
TalkSport.
Can I have your attention, please?
Get your kit on. Maybe not. On DAB, digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. In a different league. Result.
Oh, thanks, Bob.
TalkSport.
This is TalkSport. We are the two Mikes. Coming up tomorrow, of course, is Porky Vision. I'm very excited about that, actually. War and Peace is going to figure, I think.
Absolutely.
And we have to figure out a quiz subject as well for Thursday night.
Well, I've already told you. I've already told you.
What is it?
I put it into a tweet on Monday before our first show of the new year.
Uh-huh.
Downton Abbey.
What do you mean you already told me? Surely the point about the quiz is that we discuss it and we come up with one.
Don't you read Twitter?
Yeah, I do read Twitter.
And you're supposed to be a follower of mine.
Yeah.
And I said the quiz will be on Downton Abbey.
No, but you can't do that. You can't suddenly go, this is what the quiz is going to be on Monday.
Yes, I can.
Without any kind of reference to me.
Why?
Because the whole point about this show is that we're supposed to agree on how it works.
Well, you'll have to just get to these people you call the independent question setters and tell them.
So you just want to set your own quiz subjects now, is that it?
No, not at all.
We've never done it that way.
But
we've never done it that way.
Well, you very rarely come up with an idea for a subject.
No, what I normally say
I feel
to
I
you,
have to do it myself.
What I normally say to you is on a Tuesday, you know, why don't we decide on what you would like the quiz to be on?
Okay, well,
so
I'm
we
decided.
have some kind of conversation.
Okay.
What would you like it to be on?
Downton Abbey.
Downton Abbey.
Yes, because Downton Abbey is just finished, okay?
Yeah, all right.
So what do you think about that?
Well,
okay?
I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. Yeah. Would you like to set the next quiz as well for next week? You know?
No, because it depends how the world moves between now and then.
Right.
Now, I've got some very upsetting tweets here, and they're prompted by, of course, your despicable behaviour tonight.
Yeah.
And one here says, women turn and look at old Porky because they're looking for the label, as they're not sure what it is as he goes past.
Well, it usually says Italian, doesn't it?
No. Another one here, women only look twice at Porky, trying to work out who the 70s plonker is.
I read that one out already.
Yeah, that's another thing you want to say. And have you read the orangutan one out?
No, because I thought I'd spare you that one, but if you want to read that one out, that's up to you.
Women turn because they want to know why an orangutan, it's spelt wrong, orangutan does not have a G on the end, orangutan, has escaped.
Yeah.
And that's from Pumpy.
Yeah.
Or Pumpty.
Well, here's one from Shay, who says 2 reasons why Porky turns heads of ladies. 1, they wonder what Gimli is doing out of Middle-earth, and 2, they see pound signs in their eyes. Turns more stomachs, I reckon.
Yeah, well, anyway, look, I mean, I wouldn't even worry about it. The problem with you is you're stung so badly at losing 2 votes in the same show.
No, I don't care.
By the way.
I don't care, although Harriet Sugar Cookie has tweeted that she's going to now do what she said she was going to do.
Oh, yeah? What, say again?
She's now saying she's going to do what she said she was going to do.
Who is?
Your new mate, Harriet.
Oh, well, I mean, look, she's not a new mate, but she's a valued listener and follower, and I just didn't want you having a go at the poor girl.
Oh, okay.
I am told...
She's not that poor, I think.
I'm told by a report that I have here on my information machine that black pudding has been labelled as the new superfood.
Has it?
Now, that doesn't surprise anybody, does it?
No, well,
I love black pudding.
It probably does surprise. You know, one of the most wonderful things I ever tasted?
Yes.
And I discovered it in a pub in Sussex many years ago.
Yes.
And I sometimes recreate it.
Yes.
Is a black pudding sandwich, right, with mango chutney.
Ooh.
Have you ever tried that?
Well, I haven't, but I mean, I'm
really good.
I'm thinking that might not be
really
a bad combination. Yeah. And, you know, when in about the mid-'80s or maybe early 90s it was, I think, we found that place in New York, which was not only a great restaurant, but it was a butcher's shop as well.
Leal.
Was it Leal?
Well, I found it, actually.
You found it, you
Because
did.
it was around the corner from my apartment.
Where was it?
It was on Park Avenue South.
It was on Park, that's right.
Around about 27th Street.
If you came out, you could see the Pan Am building on the right, couldn't you?
You certainly could.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
If you were standing on that side of the street.
Exactly, except
on the other side of the street was on the left.
That's right, yeah, but it's
called the MetLife building now.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, it's not the Pan Am building anymore. It's
And you can't land helicopters on it anymore either.
No, you can't. The tunnel went underneath it, didn't it?
That's right.
To Fifth and all that.
Well, not to Fifth, no, but the road, if you're travelling up Park Avenue, you would literally go through the building.
That's right, you would, yeah.
In
absolutely.
a cab to get to the other part of Park
That's right.
Avenue.
But anyway, point of my story is, so I remember giving you a call when I was rebased back in London, you were still in New York.
Yeah.
And I said, hello, mate. I said, my birthday on the 29th of December, as we know, because we celebrated on just a week ago. And I said, I'm coming over. I said, after Christmas, and I want to throw a party for everybody on my birthday. I said, do you know anywhere good? And you said, I've got this great new place.
Yeah.
And we had the very long table.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Great long table.
To be honest, I don't, but I'm sure it happened.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
it did
lots
happen.
of parts of that part of my life I don't remember.
It did happen, and it was actually next to the butcher's counter that our long table was.
Yeah.
And I remember you went crazy for this, big black sausage stuff.
Yeah.
Which was full of black pudding.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I mean, black pudding's very popular in Spain, funnily enough. It's one of the places where they also eat it. Yeah.
I think yours was German.
Really?
I think it was a German sausage you had.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
One of the things I used to eat in there a lot of was they did this very nice sausage and lentil dish.
Oh, right. Well, that could have been it.
Which had sausage in it, but it was more like sort of chorizo sausage, I seem to remember.
Chorizo, is that hot?
Can be.
Can be. No,
Yeah.
I like the old black pudding. Anyway. The point of my story is, I paid for everybody for that lunch.
Did you?
I remember distinctly.
Uh-huh.
There was about 16 of us. Okay,
Right.
and it was my first sort of awareness of the good I could do for the world.
Was
With
it?
a bit of generosity? Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Well, not the first, but I mean, it was. I thought.
Shame it didn't carry on when you rented my apartment and left me in the lurch.
Well, I mean, that was your fault.
How was it my fault?
Well, you didn't organise things properly,
No, I took your word for it when you said you were going to live there for a year.
But I didn't, you see. I didn't. It was a short-term lease thing.
No,
and
you said you were going to be there for a year.
I became so good at covering politics in New York, I had to move to Washington, D.C., and it wasn't my fault. I mean,
Well, of course it wasn't.
No.
But it's a pity that, as I say, your early forays into being helpful didn't last very long.
Well, you say that, but I mean, I think you should have taken that up with the Daily Express, mate. I don't think they helped you out there much at all, did they?
No, I don't think they did.
No.
But I thought you organised all that for me.
What?
I thought you organised all that for me.
Well, I organised everything for you when you got to the Daily Express in London, but then, of course, I had other things to do. Now then, do you...
So we'll move on from that, shall we?
Well, I think
from
we
you
should.
helping out the world.
Oh, yeah, I think we should.
Okay.
I think we should.
That's fine.
Getting back to old Donald Trump and his gloves, okay?
Yes.
I meant to say to you before I was
Does
so
he actually
rudely-
wear gloves then?
No, he doesn't. You asked me about
He
the
should.
gloves. Eh?
He should, shouldn't he?
Well, I was going to say to you there used to be, just up the road from here, a great sort of sandwich bar place. It was a cafe and sandwich bar
Right.
where people used to make up great sandwiches for you. And the people who ran it were Italians. And there was one lad there who was a little bit dopey, with greatest respect to everybody.
Yeah.
I love the Italian people and all that kind of stuff. But he was a bit like Benny from Crossroads,
Uh-huh.
very willing to please,
Yeah.
but, not the sharpest tool in the box.
No.
So anyway... people are becoming more aware of cleanliness and all that. And I walked in one morning and they were all wearing these plastic gloves.
Yes.
Sort of
Which
thing.
never used to happen, did it?
Never used to happen. They were all wearing them. But the thing is, this kid couldn't get it at all. He was wearing the plastic gloves, and then he'd make your sandwich, but then he would take your money, which is full of filth, because I hate handling money because it is filthy.
Filth.
Yeah, it is full of filth.
Well, that's probably slightly overrated.
No, it is. It is.
It can be dirty.
It is. And then he'd put it in the till and get more filthy money out and hand it you back and then go back to the next sandwich.
We're not supposed to actually... Well, somebody different is meant to take
exactly,
the money, isn't
that's
that the
exactly... And I said, look, mate, you haven't got this right. He said, what? What is the problem?
Yeah.
I said, well, the problem is that you wear gloves to keep your hands spotlessly clean when you're handling food.
Yeah.
Yes. What the problem?
Yeah.
And I said, well, the problem is if you then handle money, you're getting all the filth on your gloves and then you're transmitting it to the food, aren't you? So you might as well not wear gloves. It's just the same as your fingers, isn't it? No, it's not the same as my fingers. I got gloves on, I said,
where was this place?
It was just round here in Stamford Street. Where the little used to be a shopping centre over there. Where the wine bar was,
They had like a little... You could have breakfast there.
Exactly, that's
that
right.
was a great place for breakfast.
It was, it was good.
Is it not there anymore?
Well, no, because
they've
they've rebuilt the building next to it, haven't they? So it's all been enveloped and all kind of stuff.
Right.
But that was getting back to the Donald Trump thing. Now, we've just talked about that place in New York we used to use, right? Now, did you... I mean, we used a lot of restaurants in New York, obviously. Did you ever call for the doggy bag?
Yeah, a couple of times.
Did you?
Yeah, occasionally. Not for the dog, though. I didn't have a dog then. I had a cat.
Exactly.
In those days.
You took the food home and ate it the next day.
Sometimes,
you could do that.
Sometimes you take the food home and never eat it.
No,
just a couple of days later, just throw it away.
Yeah, I agree. But the restaurants which were most accommodating to me were Chinese restaurants.
Yeah.
They put it all back in the boxes for you and say here, and you take it home and stick it in the fridge.
But also, I mean, in a lot of these places, it was not so much in Leal, but in some of the steakhouses and stuff, the amount of food they gave you was so ridiculous.
Well, this is exactly...
And if you'd paid quite a lot of money for it...
microphone then, you did that earlier on.
Yeah, I know. Strange. But
anyway.
So sometimes if you had like this massive steak, you'd go, well, it's a shame to throw that away.
No,
I'll take it home and have it steak and eggs in the morning.
I totally agree. Anyway, the reason I'm asking is because for the first time ever, restaurants in France have now been ordered by the government to provide doggy bags.
Right.
And the reason...
They do it in London now as well.
They do it in London, do they? I've not had it in London.
Yeah, you can get it in London now.
No, we went, just before, some time before Christmas, like a month ago or something.
Yeah.
We were in a restaurant. I remember really giving us a doggy bag.
Well, that's because we didn't ask for one. But most London restaurants now will give you a doggy bag if you ask for it.
Anyway, the reason I raise this is in France, the restaurants now, particularly in Paris, have been ordered you must provide doggy bags for diners to take leftovers home. The reason is because a government investigation revealed that 7 million tonnes of food is thrown away in France every year.
Really?
7 million tonnes.
How does that compare? Because, I mean, mostly you see these figures coming out of some of the supermarkets where they throw away, food that obviously isn't prepared.
Yes.
But, I mean, it must be not dissimilar here. The amount of food gets thrown away.
But 7 million tonnes? I mean, do you know what a tonne weighs?
Well,
and then multiply that by 7 million. Yeah. But anyway, the problem is that French chefs are absolutely outraged because they say le doggy bag, as they call it, right, is a vulgar American custom.
Yeah.
It's an intrusion onto the...
Well, they're not. They say they're not keen on America, but of course, in reality, they've got Disney. They're the only country in the world that's got Disneyland, right? So what does that tell you?
Well, I don't know. But what they say is that French chefs regard anybody who leaves their food as an absolute peasant, and therefore shouldn't be allowed to take it home because they've actually insulted the food by leaving it on the plate in the first place. You know what I mean?
Suppose that could be true. But one of the reasons why it was so successful in America was because, as I say, they gave you so much food. And you couldn't necessarily eat it all.
No,
it was just ridiculous. I remember going to Florida once, and I was on a golfing trip, and this friend of mine and I went into this bar, and we thought, quite fancy a Caesar salad to start with, right? So we decided each to have one. And I said, I'll just have a regular Caesar salad. He wanted a chicken Caesar salad, which I think is an abomination. Shouldn't put chicken in a Caesar salad.
Oh, I quite like a chicken Caesar salad.
Yeah, but you see, that's because you haven't got any style. But you don't put chicken in a Caesar. Anyway, this thing arrived, and it was meant to be a starter.
Right.
And it was literally about, sort of a foot across.
Yeah, a huge bowl,
It's a ridiculous bowl. But the time I'd eaten that, I didn't have any more room for anything else.
I found that steaks in California, I don't know why in California, are the size. I mean, they're all T-bone steaks, and the size of a very large plate.
Yeah, you can't eat them.
No.
You just can't eat them.
Well, we used to have steaks, didn't we, in... what was it, Palm?
In Palm, and Palm 2.
Palm and Palm 2, and they would only serve steak. And did they serve any vegetables with it at all? I didn't
Only if you asked for them. I mean, generally speaking, they give you a baked potato, or some creamed spinach. That was about it.
That was about it, yeah, it was, yeah.
Now, we've almost run out of time here, so I'm going to
Okay.
lead you a couple of these last final messages on the swimming.
Excellent.
Steve, you'll like this one. He agrees with you, he says, about the swimmer.
Yeah.
It's like someone saying they're going to walk from Land's End to John O'Groats. Sounds like a great achievement, but if they're only going to walk for 8 hours a day and spend the other 16 hours relaxing, sleeping and eating, it's not really that difficult. Well, Steve, you and Porky are cut from the same cloth.
Yes.
I'd like to see you walking to John O'Groats, whether you have a rest during the day or not. I'd like to see you swimming across the Atlantic, whether you have a rest. And how about this from Paul in Whitefield? A swimmer's biggest problem will be pirates. Swimming that route is probably one of the most dangerous routes to piracy, especially when advertising the fact. So you'll be laughing on the other side of your face if the guy gets kidnapped by pirates.
Why would I be laughing on the side of my face?
Because you'll have got it wrong.
No, I'd just say what a goon to have done it in the first place and have started doing it. I mean, the point is, any bloke who's got time to say, mystically, I'm going to swim across the Atlantic, which of course he isn't.
Well, he is.
Just wants people to think he's a hero. Should actually have something better to do in life. Like, for instance, going and helping the homeless or going and helping people who aren't as well off as he is. Because you must be pretty well off to be able to take a year off work to swim the Atlantic. What's the problem?
Absolutely incredible.
No.
Sean says, borrow, borrow, borrow. It makes you a mover and a shaker. Hashtag plank.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't explain that
Exactly.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Makes you think she's a woman.
Irish
one.
There's a picture of her as a woman. Oh, no, maybe that's Jesus Christ,
There's
is
a
it?
picture of a saint.
Oh, a saint, is it? Right, OK. Another one says...
You're feeling
well,
all
it's
right
only a
this
small
morning.
picture, isn't it?
Look at the light!